to see how we're going to start things
First
off.
encounter of the day. What is it, Stuart?
No.
Send it. What is it? We don't know yet.
We don't know.
What do we get? All right, well, taking a look at Soju's board right out the gates, one thing we will be watching for is the new econ trait of the set, Crystal Gambit. This is kind of an interesting one where, you know, at 3 early on, this is basically Fortune. But if you can get the emblem and play 5, it becomes Golden Ox. And you're actually just trying to win a bunch of rounds, get a bunch of kills, and be able to pick up a lot of loot that way. But we've got our power snacks. It's not going to really come online until we start to see some of our early game carries. There might be some direction out of some one-cost reroll potentially that we can see, maybe early in stage 2, especially with the first pickup. Hero augments are kind of back with a force in this set. A lot of one-cost particularly, and we'll be looking to see, because I think those tend to be very popular in 4v4 since you can't really stop somebody from rerolling one cost.
Yeah, I think if some players have the opening of some of these one cost rerolls, we think of like KO as a reroll, the crew could be an option as well, trying to get the rerolls. I won't speak about the forbidden unit just yet. I mean, we might wait until we actually see it first.
Tech.
Yeah, the forbidden tech.
There's a lot of forbidden tech, actually.
No one knows about, right? No one knows about
nobody
the
could
unit.
possibly know.
No, hopefully not. But I think the power-ups have been such an exciting new feel for this set as a whole. As you said, it offers a lot of flexibility in the early stages. And in the late stages, just offers that bit more power to your front line and to your back line as well, which I think is going to be very important to try and cap out some of these boards later on down the line.
Well, Soju hasn't found it, but we'll see if anyone else finds that great pickup, that grand piece, that general practitioner you have. As we got Silver Destiny as a very easy pickup right out the gates. Basically, these destinies just give you a random augment within the tier and some gold, and so therefore they're actually just kind of above rate, and they're just pretty much always worth clicking. Sometimes they can really mess with you. You might get like a Golemify when you didn't want it off of gold, and that can be really kind of silly, but you can usually use that gold to restabilize after the fact anyways. So taking a look through silvers, there's not a ton here that I'm immediately standing out, because the big thing I'm looking at with silvers, Stuart, is going to be those one-cost hero augments, and I haven't seen any of those grabbed straight away.
No, nothing just yet. Everyone's just going for either item power with over encumbered. We have a few Pandora's boxes there as well. Eye for an eye, beggars can't be choosers, XP as well. There's nothing really exciting too much to share.
Yeah, and we did just see kind of our first power snacks of the tournament popped. If you haven't played much of the set, this is kind of the new set mechanic. It just gives a power up to one of your units, making them extra strong. This is the main one we're going to see out of most people, which is Unstoppable, being picked up by Soju. This thing just provides a bunch of extra CC each time that your unit retargets, and gives a bunch of health to that frontliner. It's pretty crazy. I think you're going to see this click like 9 out of 10 times for the frontliners on most boards, so be prepared for a lot of Kabukos and other frontliners just running into the backline straight away.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. We see Nara on the other side as well, also being able to pick up power-ups as well. You're seeing most of the time in the early stages, you want to try and put these power-ups on your backline units. There's a lot of strong backline units that you can really put this on. Extra burn in the early stages. Some of the one costs actually have extra power-ups as well, some unique ones as well that give the units extra power overall. We can see Volta here is the one with the Nar start as well. Has the Infinity Edge on that Jhin as well. We talk about one-cost rerolls. Two-cost rerolls as well are a big possibility in this tournament. Again, I'm not going to talk about Forbidden Tech, but Jhin is one of them that could be a possibility. And slamming that Infinity Edge on that Jhin early instead of the Gnar makes me feel like Volta could be angling towards this.
Yeah, it's interesting. It could be angling towards Lost Streak.
Okay,
oh my gosh.
Oh, well.
No, it's Midas Touch too, Stuart. Okay, so here's the elephant in the room. Gangplank is the unit of the set. It is a very powerful unit. This 2-star GP is probably going to stabilize Rebanov until you know, like stage 4. He's going to be in really good shape, and it's got it also has Midas Touch. So not only does the ability itself potentially generate gold every time it picks up a kill or a takedown, it also will generate gold off of Midas Touch potentially on each of those takedowns. And so Rebanov has the potential to really snowball heavily. When you see this start, immediately AlQadsiah should identify Rebanov as, hey, he might be able to win the whole game. So we should make sure that we kind of help him get into a position to win out.
And it's up now to Team Vitality to kind of deny some of the Gangplanks as well, because I think the big thing is with Gangplank, you have two options. You can either reroll the Gangplank with the Mentors as well, going for the likes of the Kabuko, or you can use it to stabilize, to push for tempo as well, which would be interesting to see what direction he was going to go for. with that, trying to make sure and see what's going to happen. Is he going to tempo? Is he going to try and go for that reroll? Has the Kraken already? Another bow for the Rage Blade as well. Brilliant start. As we see Milk as well, also with that start.
Yeah, and then we got, looks like, is this Sitsuko or is this Flouters board? It looks like Flouters is hanging out here, going up against Milk's board potentially, having the GP, as you said. Yeah, he's just got the GP1, no GP2, so he actually can lose rounds. It is once you get to that GP2 that you really just kind of steamroll everyone for a little while. Another big unit we're going to want to talk about throughout the weekend, or this week really, is going to be Mundo. This is another 2 cost that you can stabilize around for your front line, and it does have a reroll line with Jin, but also 2-star Mundo kind of feels like a 4 cost.
Yep.
So you might not have to play exactly around reroll. You can just kind of use Mundo as your frontline stabilization. The Luchador synergy, kind of giving that big healing in CC that comes through, is so important, as we do get Rebanov grabbing the 4th gangplank for himself off this carousel.
Yeah, I'm looking at the GP counters at the moment. Only 2 at the moment, only Milk and Rebanov at the moment on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Of course, that 2-star gangplank. Being able to get that early on is just such a high roll. It's absolutely crazy what you can do. 1 gangplank is already good in the early stages, but 2 can make it feel even better as well. But when we talk about outside of like the gangplank and the 2 costs as well, you might be see some players trying to tempo, playing for the AP lines for the 4 costs as well. I think they're going to be very important throughout this entire Esports World Cup. You know, the Sorcerers for the 4 costs with the Karma at the back line, the Prodigies as well with Yumi on the back line. These are some AP lines that, if they can do enough single target damage, has a slight chance to try and, you know, shred that GP down. Yeah,
and instead, if you're on the GP track, but you can't actually go for the reroll, you can end up going towards Ashe Juggernauts later on, transfer the items from the GP over to Ashe. There's also a Volibear composition that can actually work into the gangplank. You can kind of transfer the GP items there as well. It kind of works out. And then there's also AlQadsiah, a little bit different itemization than the GP, kind of a different composition. And I think we'll see some amount of AlQadsiah, but I think it will fall off slightly compared to a lot of the other 4-cost builds.
I think, like you said, the big difference is kind of the itemization with Cassante is very different to GP. With GP, since you're only playing 2 duelists, you actually want a little bit of attack speed in there with the Rage Blade stacking up. The Kraken's going to be in there as well. It's a great combination. And normally 3rd item is a little bit situational. At the start, people were thinking that IE would be a 3rd item, but actually people have been focusing more on Edge of Night to make sure you have that extra aggro.
Makes sense. As we get to the end of stage 2 here, we have 2 players potentially on the loss streak. It's both Vitality players, Prestivan and Milk. And in fact, Rebanov ended up taking a round loss somewhere in the middle there, which is quite surprising with the 2-star gangplank, since he had that so early on. And I'm curious where that loss happened, as Soju and Flouters are the 2 highest HP, longest standing win streaks right now, with Soju at 3, Flouters at 2. And it is going to be Prestivan versus Milk. It looks like Prestivan did position to try and hold on to this loss streak by moving the Aatrox to the back. So it looks like Milk is letting Prestivan have the loss streak. Good decision out of Team Vitality. It seems like they've identified the Prestivan spot as being a little bit better to maintain the loss, whereas Milk, with this gangplank, can try and start a win streak after neutrals.
I think that's the big thing, because Milk has that gangplank, as you mentioned. After neutrals, he has that possibility of winning rounds, whereas Prestivan, he has a bit of a weaker board. So in general, he can try and go for the loose streak after the neutrals and try and keep that loose streak going and get as much goals as possible. Try and loose streak, as I mentioned, into some of these AP units later on down the line, as well as we get ready for the neutrals as well. These neutrals are all going to be about what other items you can make, what other units you can grab onto as well. But also you see just gold in general. You know, Milk already stacking up to nearly 50 gold. He might be above 50 gold with this round. And that's all thanks to the gangplank. You know, having a 50% chance to drop a gold when you get that takedown is going to be huge, and the Midas touch as well. So Milk just stacking up so much gold, really, throughout this early stage.
Yeah, one thing I want to note for stage 2, it's too early to worry as far as health totals are concerned, but we look at the win streaks, it's across the board, going over to the side of AlQadsiah, Flouters, Volta, Rebanov, all 2-3-3 on their win streaks, a lot of HP remaining, whereas, you know, you look at the bottom side, and even in the middle, right, Soju and Setsuko not able to kind of hold on to multiple wins in a row, getting stuck there. So we're going to take a look. We just loot subscription.
Yeah, we just got our second loot subscription, was a whole bunch of gold. Yeah. And now it's going to be really down to what's going to happen on stage 3-2. I think that's going to be the big one, because you're seeing some players actually rolling down on 3-2, trying to stabilize on like Gangplank 2, trying to stabilize your board. But now with this extra inject of gold, you might see some of these loose streak players just keep on stacking up that 50 gold every single time, and maybe try and go to level 8 earlier to try and find these powerful AP4 costs.
Yeah, have to also watch out for how real the Rebanov 3-star 3-star gangplank is, because that is a huge win-out condition. We were talking in the green room about how few 3-star gangplanks will actually feel like we'll see with how contested the unit will be, but Rebanov started this game with 4 gangplanks, so it's really just a matter of can people actually prevent that, as Milk is going to take a loss to Volta. Just very high tempo play from the AlQadsiah lineup.
Yeah, Volta actually had a Jinx on the bench as well and had 4 Jins as well, itemizing the Jin, leveling to 6 early to try and keep that win streak. So it might be a tempo play maybe into snipers, which we don't really get to see too much, or he might be just staying at level 6, trying to reroll for that Jin.
Yeah, still quite a few losses for Vitality. They're not able to really stabilize other than Soju right now, as we do have a bunch of rolls there. Magic roll going to be picked up for, looks like Espat here.
Some
it's
gold.
just going to be a lot of gold.
Yeah.
A couple 2-star 3 costs to try and play around for now. The itemization, though, is just leaning towards AP. This looks like it wants to be Sorcerer, lean into Karma later, and none of these pickups are actually helpful for that, but they are going to just help stabilize the board so that you can push to 8.
Yeah, I think the big thing with that Viego 2, you can actually put the AP items on that Viego 2, and it's actually going to help him stabilize a lot. But as you mentioned, I think with the over-encumbered to start things off as well, being able to pick that up, get more items for them AP carries later on down the line.
Yeah, we mentioned Setsi was already rerolling a lot, and now he's going to be rerolling into a 2-cost line, are going for the Mundos, holding on to 6 Vi's, potentially looking for the Jin as he's got 5 copies already. And we do have Milk being able to pick up one of the Mentor augments that is very good with the GP line. So he's going to be sticking in that track, trying to contest Rebanov, and he has found Gangplank 2, so at least he'll be able to start winning a lot more rounds with that.
And you see how much gold Milk rolled down as well. He only has 20 gold left, so he rolled down a lot for this GP2. As you mentioned, with that Mentor augment as well, it means that he can actually put these Mentors onto the board. He doesn't have to worry about the 1 or 4 Mentors. He could put 2 in, he could put 3 in if they want to, and when he gets that full Mentor later on, they all get upgraded as well. They all get that huge amount of power. So as you mentioned, being able to track Rebanov, we haven't seen Rebanov's board in quite some time to see how many GPs he actually has, but he is on a 4 win streak as well. Volta also on a 5 streak at the top as well, so both the players sitting at the top, as we see 5 at the moment. So
5 GPs.
It's a lot of gold though in the bank,
yeah.
So I think he's kind of figuring out, does he want to play tempo? Does he want to go for the reroll? I think that's the big question. He is keeping well above 50 gold. He's kind of thinking to himself and probably communicating with his team. Should I go for the reroll? Should I go for the tempo play? What's the plan here for the team?
I feel like 5 GPs, and it's not like overly held based on the boards we've seen. I think he actually could go for the reroll this game. Usually you're not going to be able to get out of there. Volta having a rise in the shop. He's actually also holding Gangplank, so they were trying to deny Milk, I think, but maybe it's possible that his team will sell them and send Rebanov to just start rerolling as soon as they go for that, as Volta is contesting Setsi in this Jin Mundo line.
I think Jin Mundo is the secondary option for the 2 costs when we talk about GP being really strong with Kabuko. Dr. Mundo with that huge front line, being able to do so much with Luchador as well. With that Jin as well, that 4 shot on the back line also going to be very huge. So we're seeing a lot of 2 costs being contested at the moment. A lot of 2 costs. Coming into this carousel, we do have a Yuumi on the board, so we have to see if maybe one of these players try and go for the AP unit and try and use the Prodigy line as a bit of an option.
Yeah, I think Flouters maybe could go towards that direction based on the items that I'm seeing with the Gunblade Slam. I think that tends to potentially go in that direction. Prestivan also could consider Yuumi, as we do just have 2 of the crit item slams, Jeweled Gauntlet, as well as that Guard Breaker, and so does have a sword open, so that might just want to be sorcerers with going into a Shojin off a tier, but it could still instead be a Gunblade and go into Prodigies with the Yuumi.
I think the flexibility of the 4 cost with the AP line is such a big thing. I think just even in 4v4 as well, when you go for that roll down at level 8, you can pick up the Karmas, but you can also pick up the Yuumis as well. You can kind of flex around which one you hit 2-star. If you hit the Karma 2-star, it would be great. If you hit the Yuumi, it's also completely fine. You can still stabilize with the front line as well.
With the units that Prestivan was holding, it does feel pretty committed to sorcerers, though. You would have to find a couple of extra 1 costs later on that level 8 roll down to full pivot into Yuumi. You could still use it. If you found the 2-star, you could still kind of use it in the interim, but definitely wanting to be a Karma composition at the end of the day. Volta going up against Setsuko, both of them having their Mundos, but the itemization for Volta on the Jin is so much better right now.
Yeah, the Giant Slayer doing well to try and break through this front line. You saw that Volta actually used one of the removers, something that we haven't spoke about yet. What you can do as well with these new power-ups is you can use the removers, which removes the power-ups and kind of allows you to pick another power-up as an option. Use it on the Jhin, trying to find that artistic KO, trying to find that extra power on the force shot, which is one of Jin's best power-ups to kind of pick up at the moment. Unfortunately missed out this time, but you do get one remover at the start of every single stage, so you'll be able to try and find it a little bit later on down the line. And then we have another power snack coming on for another power-up that he can now use for his front line.
It's really how the composition works, right? Jhin actually needs this artistic KO, or else it just kind of falls flat. It'll be fine for like stage 3, maybe early stage 4, but if you don't want to completely fall off towards the end of the game, you need it, because what it does is it basically takes any overkill damage that you do on the 4th shot onto one unit and passes it to another unit.
Yeah.
And because you lose so much damage if you don't have it, because 4th shot does so much as a 3-star Jhin, you really, really just need it for the composition to actually function. So we'll see Volta using that rolling quite a bit throughout the game until he gets to the artistic KO.
And you can see Volta actually sold his 2 gangplanks as well now, so I think indicating to Rebenav as well to let's reroll it this time. The communication is coming on through. Holding the GPs so someone like Milk doesn't get it, and then as soon as Rebenav is ready for the roll down, Volta sells the GPs and then he tries and goes for the roll down. So great communication here to start things off for AlQadsiah, and at the moment they're both sitting very comfortably. Volta 98 HP, Rebenav on 94 HP. Both of them are looking very, very strong, and President on the other side on a 9-loss streak. Has a lot of gold, is nearly level 8 already, so he can go for that roll down with the items that he had said. You mentioned the Shojin slam has come in the end, so he's definitely tailoring more towards sorcerers rather than Yuumi.
Here it comes, level 8 right
roll
away.
Comes on
Prestiven's going to start it, finds Yuumi's going to just skip them. He is just going for the Karma. Jarvan, a very important pickup. If he can 2-star it for the front line, that'll help stabilize quite a bit, but he does need the Karmas. He's going to wait out the neutrals. It looks like he's not contested immediately, so he will be able to kind of go for it, but he's so incredibly low already, Stuart. I think this is going to be a big struggle for Team Vitality with the HP disparity.
Yeah, he needs to kind of make sure you stabilize now on Jarvan 2 and also the Karma 2 as well. The problem with Jarvan is that he's one of the most contested units in this set because the Mentor GP comp wants to play it as well. The Sorcerer comp wants to play it, and there's probably going to be multiple Sorcerer players from what we've been seeing in early stages. Jarvan 2 is a huge upgrade.
No
0 Karmas so far. Has found a Rise as well, which is also a pretty nice contested pick, but no backline damage. That's the problem right now. We still are sitting on that Lux 2-star. Not a single Karma on this roll down. You do have the front line. You do have great front line. The Swain 2, yeah, Jarvan 2, Cassante 2. But where's the damage coming from? You only really have the damage from the Lux, and that's it. As he is going to, well, he did get all out, but this is a tank Cassante, so I don't think that's going to be the option.
It's not going to happen, and finding the Rise 1 can help, but if it was a Rise 2, you could at least like just put the items on Rise and kind of go with it. But I don't know that Rise 1 actually gets the job done. I'm curious if it's better than Lux 2, but I think Precedent would know better. He's always been kind of a specialist when it comes to AP, as we do have a Karma 2 on the other side. I was saying, hey, maybe he has time to not get contested, but it looks like the Karma would just hit immediately by Espat.
Oh my god, the Karma ability at the end actually spreading around and doing enough damage as well. So it's a really battle between Espat and Preciven. Both the 2 lowest HP members, both of them have been using that econ throughout the entire game to try and roll down, hit the units. One hit Jarvan 2, the other hit Karma 2. And of course, the Karma 2 is going to bring out a lot more power later on down the line.
Yeah, I mean, if Prestiven can actually find any backliner upgrade, like if he's able to find the Rise 2 even, just to shift items, I think because his front line is so disgustingly good, he actually will outlive Espat because Espat's front line is a lot more paper to these like more heavy power comps that are going throughout the rest of the lobby, like Volta's Mundo 3 that was picked up to go alongside the Jhin, even though still not able to find the Jhin 3, as that has been picked up by Setsuko. So they've traded frontline backline here, just like Prestiven and Espat have traded frontline backline in their other composition.
The big thing here with Setsuko is look how many GPs he's holding on his bench.
Yeah.
He has plenty of GPs that he's holding on the bench at the moment. Like you said, that trade is going to be very important. President in the end going for that portable forge, finding snipers focused on that Jhin, which is going to be really nice to try and help him out with that little bit of extra damage on his only 2-star Jhin. But I think it really comes down to now, how much damage is this Jhin going to be able to bring out? Rage Blade is a very unique item for Jhin because it doesn't actually increase his attack speed, it increases the attack damage because the attack speed actually gets converted as well, which is very unique.
This set
but
is
the
just obliterating him.
Yeah, the Karma is just doing so much AoE damage. Just one shot to the Jhin on the backline. That's going to be another loss here for Setsuko, as we have to take a look at Preciven as well and Espat sitting at the bottom as well to see how they're doing. Volta, though, look at this Mundo. Look how tanky he is.
Yeah, and this is, again, we're just seeing AlQadsiah wins across the board. So many losses having to be taken by Vitality. They're losing way too much HP. And I love this little cook from Espat because he wasn't able to find any Jarvans, not able to find the normal front line. He just plays a set and goes 4 jug. And just says, hey, you know what? We just have to get some amount of front line. I have a Karma 2 that should be enough to stabilize. And the set, relatively uncontested, ends up being amazing as a front line in that fight.
Very unique because normally we see it with the Mighty Mech, you know, getting that extra unit on the board, getting that extra body on the board. But like I said, with the Juggernauts being one of the most powerful frontline units at the moment, with obviously the Dr. Mundo, but obviously the set being very powerful as well. Great adaptation here from Espat to kind of make sure that he can get enough frontline for that Karma to do enough burst damage on the back.
Yeah, Milk on 6 Gangplanks. Probably not going to be able to find the 3-star Gangplank. I'm curious if Rebanov can get there either. I did not see it pop up. Gangplank very strong, but I think Mundo 3 tends to be a bit stronger. See if Gangplank gets in range to actually start shooting at the Jhin because it'll hit lowest target, but he's not. All up to the Udyr trying to take down the Jhin. One more cast, doesn't get there. And Mundo trying to hold out. Will survive through the Gangplank, and the regen is just too much. Ridiculous.
The healing from Dr. Mundo is absolutely crazy at the moment. I mean, you can see that this is the problem that sometimes Gangplank will have. We talk about how strong Gangplank is, but if he's stuck on that Dr. Mundo the whole time, how are you going to get to the backline? How are you going to get to that Jhin and do enough damage? Udyr trying to 1v1 in the end on the back, but it wasn't enough in the end. And that's a huge win as well for Volta, taking down
Milk losing the streak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible. It looks like it's still showing the 5 streak on the side here, but we did just see that fight. Milk has lost that streak.
He still has a lot of gold, though, we did see. He still has above 50 gold, so he can also go for the roll down as well. We see Soju also on a loss streak now near the bottom, Precedent on 25 HP as well. But I think overall it's been very, very powerful at the moment for Volta with this board at the moment, going for that Dr. Mundo 3-star, which if you solo frontline this Dr. Mundo, which a lot more people have been doing recently, if you're playing against some of these melee carries, everyone just focuses the Dr. Mundo. Sometimes the Luchador can kind of mess up the targeting a little bit, but if that Dr. Mundo is solo frontline by himself, we can see here with Volta, then it's going to be really, really hard to break it down. 3-star Jhin now on the board now for Volta. This is one of the biggest cat balls that we have seen.
Yeah, we saw him remover, but now he's started to slam everything. He is going up against Rebanov, but it looks like they're deciding just, hey, Volta, if you can keep winning, just keep winning, right? Because he's on this 10 streak. He is so incredibly healthy. He's just like holding on to so much HP for the team where he can finally start sacking when they really need him to, as he is going up against Rebanov, so taking out the GPs one by one. It looks like Rebanov does have the Yasuo trying to sneak past, not quite able to take down the Jhin. And Gangplank just out of range once again. It's going to be just a repeat story of what we saw between Volta and Milk moments ago. Just an invincible Mundo, but no.
Oh, wait.
Hey, this time around, Gangplank gets through when he wants it to, because his teammate gets the win. So able to beat Milk, and then Rebanov able to find the win there and buy more time to find GP. Milk going to start rolling down at 7. 2 more Gangplanks needed to get there.
The big thing as well, Yasuo 3 is pretty big. It can work as a secondary carry. Jarvan 2 and Ryze 2, but I don't know if the GP is going to come on through.
One more Milk, come on!
He's not going to do it in the end.
All right.
No, he's actually moving. He's trying to find the stretchy arms, but he can't find the stretchy arms,
He still has found some great upgrades, though. I mean, this is going to be the Yasuo 3. 1 away from this GP, and Milk has a lot of life to work with. Let's be clear. I mean, he's nearly 50 HP. It's his 40-something here. Going up against Espat. This is a really big win for Milk if he can get it. Espat falling very low for AlQadsiah, and it looks like he will be able to find that win, but Prestivant falling very low as well. Found a single Karma, and that might be all that matters with the front line that he had. His front line is so gross that he can stabilize a little bit on this 1-star Karma, and if they can take down Espat, maybe Prestivant can stabilize.
Prestivant is doing all that he can right now to kind of make every single fight matter. Every single win is going to matter here for Team Vitality. As you mentioned, with that front line that we mentioned already being so tanky, the Karma could do enough AoE damage on the backline with the items that he has as well, which is going to be absolutely huge. Setsuko here, on the other hand, wasn't able to find that Dr. Mundo 3, unfortunately. He's going to get a little bit of extra gold here from the neutral rounds, but that Mundo 3 is going to be pretty important to try and pick up. Does have the Jhin, but fortunately for Setsuko, it's not looking good in terms of HP front.
The HP is so cooked for Vitality, right?
Yeah.
Setsuko, Soju, and Prestivan are all so incredibly low. Meanwhile, on the other side, Volta has held on to 100 HP for most of the game. I mean, it does feel like AlQadsiah actually can just kind of coast to the win with their HP values at this point in the game. They hit, Vitality didn't. I mean, that's the end of the day. They found these early pickups, and then from there, the really good game plans, holding on to the GPs until the last second, selling them away. I don't think Rebinov was able to hit, but I think they're just going for the right things, finding the 2 costs, contesting the right lines, and finding what they need. And I really loved Espat, especially going for the Karma and then the Juggernaut front line and not even worrying about the Jarvan when he saw those getting hit.
We talk about 4v4, about communication being key, flexibility being key as well. You know, with Prestivan going for that Jarvan 2 front line, with so many other players as well going for that Jarvan on the front line, that flexibility, and as you mentioned, Volta as well, keeping the GPs until that roll down for Rebinav, was able to find the 3-star in the end. But it's going to be the battle here with Dr. Mundo trying to storm on through onto the front line. Setsuko is going to be going up against his teammate Soju, and one of the players might be getting knocked out right here.
Yeah, we will be losing one in this spot, and it's really just who is stronger. I mean, Soju does have Seraphine 2 on the Prodigy track, but doesn't have the Yumi 2 to go along with it. So it really is just Malzahar Seraphine as a comp, and it is enough this time. Soju's going to hold on. I mean, maybe this 2-star 5 cost can actually just buy enough space, but Prestivan also losing does go down. That's a 7-8. They're going to need a 1-2, and I don't know that they're going to get there.
No, I think Volta's going to have way too much HP in the balance. I think the big thing as well with him losing a few rounds against his teammates, he has the Vampiric augment as well. So when he's winning rounds, he's going to be able to do even more as well. But
and Flouders has everything. Oh, this is Milk. No, okay, this is Milk. Yeah, I thought this was going to be Rebinov's board, but no, Milk has actually found everything at this point. So Milk actually does have a win-out potential here. Kabuko 3, GP 3, Yasuo 3. But really, is Soju going to be able to get second with 10 HP that he's got left? I don't know that he can get there.
And now Milk is coming up against his teammate as well, so I think this might be the end here for Soju as well. Maybe the end for Team Vitality in game number 1.
It looks like no more removers for Milk as well, so not able to actually weaken the board.
The GP just goes straight onto the back line. It's just too much to handle. These 3 stars are too much, and that's going to do it for game number 1.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8 potentially there. Not sure if Espat went down at some point throughout this game, but that is at least 3 in the bot 4. AlQadsiah able to pick that one up. I mean, just really well played first game. I really like the spots that they had initially. Volta and Rebinov just going for those win streaks. I mean, we called out during the qualifiers, Rebinov was very heavily, ended up being one of the win-out players for that team, and just kind of starting out the gates, being the one who finds the GP. I mean, it's convenient that Rebinov gets to play for that style, and I think AlQadsiah really brought it to Vitality in game 1, right? Vitality known to be dropping some game 1s during the qualifiers, and we'll see if that trend, we were worried about it continuing, and well, it has here with AlQadsiah grabbing game 1.
Yeah, I think the big thing as well with Volta keeping that win streak as well, we kind of saw like the contestation of 2 cost rerolls. There was 2 people going for GP, 1 on either team, 2 people going for the Jhin, 1 on either team as well, and Volta just having so much value as well, you know, going for the Gold Destiny as second, actually picking up a really good augment with the Vampiric, actually helping him out with the HP total overall, so he was able to actually sacrifice some of them losses against some of his teammates and kind of help his team out overall, climb up the rankings, and then he can build that HP up over time as well. But Milk, of course, with all the 3 stars on the gold board, are going to be
Milk
very
will win the game.
But yeah, well,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No.
He found the Exodia comp, but...
Well, what did they say in the interviews? They said if Milk finds the spot where he's going to go 1-2, he's going to go 1-2. I mean, he certainly found the spot, and he is going to win, but...
The rest of the team are just holding hands.
Is holding hands 6, 7, 8, and that's a bit of a problem.
That is a bit of trouble. Yeah, I mean, in the end, you know, we saw Prestivan with his roll down when he was going for the Sorcerers. In the end, not finding that Karma early enough, unfortunately. Had the upgraded front line we mentioned with the Cassante 2, the Jarvan 2 as well, but you really need to stabilize on that Karma 2 as well, because once you come up against these gangplank players, it's going to be way too big. Soju in the end not finding Yumi 2 as well. So I think with Vitality, they weren't able to hit the 4 costs in the end. The real big carries. They were able to find a lot of frontliners, but the backliners just weren't able to do enough damage for their team.
Yeah, Milk was really the only one who hit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, Soju ends up finding that Seraphine 2 later, which is, I mean, pretty strong to be able to put the items there, but when you don't have the Yuumi, you're already missing so much of the damage. It's just not enough to really compensate, especially against, you know, the full cap board of Milk, and he had way too much HP gone already. You look at Prestiven's board, right? He rolled down pretty early, he had a lot of gold to do it, finds the front line, but no damage. Right?
He's probably one of the first people that actually rolled down on level 8 as well. You see him rolling down during the neutral round as well. But there was so much injection of gold with the loot sub as well coming on through, which meant that a lot of these players were actually sacrificing their HP early on, going for that level 8 roll down, and just hoping that you hit the back line, the front line, the full cost carries to be enough. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough in the end. But I'm sure there's going to be communication as well now with Team Vitality. What's going to be their approach for the next game as well? Because of course, these are best of threes. They are not losing the series just yet. And as you mentioned, as we know, we've mentioned throughout the pre-show, that Vitality do tend to lose that game number 1. It does take them a little bit of time to kind of settle into things.
Yeah, and I mean, I think AlQadsiah is no stranger to upsetting America's teams with being able to take down 100 teams before and have their run through the qualifiers. All we know is our predictions are not intact anymore, story, but Ginny's is potential 2-0 for AlQadsiah as they've grabbed game 1. And we just kind of have to, you know, make their way through the rest of this game here as we get to kind of show you the power of these 2-cost rerolls, kind of illustrate what we are expecting for the entire week, which is Mundo, Gangplank. These are the big 2 kind of compositions when it comes to the 2-cost reroll and the units that anchor them. And you're seeing the power with Volta with this Mundo, and you're seeing the power with Milk with the Gangplank.
The Archangel actually being a very unique item for that Dr. Mundo, just being able to heal a little bit more and be able to get more HP as well with the Archangel, because he gets a little bit more scaling as well. Volta actually losing this round overall. But yeah, as an overall point during the game, as I mentioned, you know, we saw in the end the 2 people going Sorcerer, 1 on each team, 2 people going for that GP, 1 on each team, 2 people going for the Mundo Jhin as well, which is kind of what we expected. You know, we were talking, you know, behind in the green
2
room.
Prodigy.
And, yeah, and 2 Prodigy as well. So they're the top 4 comps really in the game right now. And they're all being contested amongst each other, but I think at the end it was down to the real big communication with, you know, Volta holding the GPs early on to make sure Milk didn't hit later on down the line. Setsuko was also holding GPs. They're actually holding for each other's teammates, but also the opposite teammates as well, which makes it really, really strange because you're holding for making sure that your team doesn't hit, but also the enemy doesn't hit as well. So it's a very unique scenario coming in on through with these 2 costs being so powerful. Yeah, Volta just has casual 90 gold, level 9.
Yeah, Rebanov going level 10 as well, hits Lee Sin 2. I mean, we'll see if any of them can outcap Milk, because he's 3-starred like the entire GP board with the Mentor augment, so it's like going to be tough to outcap.
Yeah, I think the big thing here with Rebanov as well, that didn't actually go for the GP3 in the end. We were talking about how there is 2 different ways that you can play GP. You can play GP to play tempo. You can just stable on 2-star, try and push levels and try and play for these 4 costs and 5 costs later on down the line, which seems that Rebanov did hold some gangplanks to kind of stop Milk from hitting, but also he just used his GP to tempo, get enough HP, win enough rounds to actually stabilize and go into the top 4 at the end of this game, which at the end, that's all he needed to do. He knew that his other teammates like Volta were doing so well. He knew that Flouders and S-Power were in a stable spot. All he needs to do is level up, stabilize his board, and do enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like he even did roll some GP at some point, right? Like he rolled down and ended up on like seven copies. We knew he was at 4 early, found a 5th. And from there, it's like maybe rolled a little bit, didn't find it, and then like saw Milk just hit and just was like, all right, never mind, pushing levels, can hold on to this. And I think that's like very good adaptation for these players to make, especially as you're saying, right? Recognizing just how much HP they had saved early. It's so much more than Vitality, and they know you're forced to hit each other. You're going to still get hit by like Volta because he's so strong. So at a certain point, it's like, how much HP can we preserve? Can we win 1 or 2 more fights in this early game? And the result, I mean, it just speaks for itself, right? We see the 6, 7, 8, they came through, and it's not even that the boards ended up being weak in the last part, but they started losing to each other at the end, right? I mean, it was Setsuko versus Prestiven loses, and then after that it's Soju versus Milk, and Soju loses. So it's really, that's all you have to do is all that damage at the start of the game.
And it might be a bit of an adaptation as what we see maybe later on in the tournament as well, as maybe the early stages become to be more important than ever, because the early stages now, if you can't sacrifice, we also saw, I believe it was Precedent and Soju facing each other when they both had a 4-loss streak early on as well. So one of them actually losing that loss streak, losing a lot of gold, which I believe was Soju in the end because Precedent did the extra positioning. So Precedent had the extra gold that we mentioned, but just wasn't able to hit that Karma 2 on the roll down. But the early stages, that HP that they lost early on, that was enough in the end. For AlQadsiah to stabilize, get into the top 4, and Vitality wasn't able to stabilize on stage 4 and above.
Look, we wanted AlQadsiah to be able to tell their story here, right? We wanted them to be able to have a big pop-off performance. Wanted to see it maybe not just be Volta, even though Volta is once again showing us on EWC why he's here every single time, why he is always making it to Worlds, why he's everywhere. And but I think Rebinov, who I called out as someone I was impressed with in the qualifiers, once again having a good performance, and really just the entire team. I mean, Spat, I can't speak to enough that pivot to grab the set. I think it was really, really nice, recognizing the game state and knowing that, yeah, this isn't going to cap out very high. It's not even that good of a comp, but guess what? It'll win right now, and it absolutely did. That's all that was really important for that team, is we're going to have just one more fight as Milk is unstoppable. The gangplank is a bit strong.
He also hit stretchy arms as well. So
yeah, well, of course. Yeah, he had all of it. I mean, he had all the time in the world to reroll it, right?
Too little, too late, though, unfortunately, for Vitality, since all 3 of their other members did go in the bottom 4 in the end. It's unfortunately means that the point total for AlQadsiah is going to be enough, with 3 of them going into the top 4 as well. Now it's just down to this final fight to see if Volta can find a way to try and break through this GP and this Kabuko.
He's trying
as
to
well,
3-star set. Volta Classic, 3-star forecast.
He's going to sell? Is he going to sell? I thought he was going to sell. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's not 5 cost, is it? Does it? It's not a crazy 5 cost that you can go for. But yeah, sells the Mundo, tries to hit the set 3, isn't going to find it in the end. It does look like Milk is going to win out this first game. Really showcasing the power of what we kind of predicted going into this tournament, with the GP being so powerful. When you hit all of these 3 stars with the Kabuko, with the Yasuo as well, there's so much power, there's so much CC, and there's so much damage in this composition that is very hard to position against and very hard to itemize against as well.
Yeah, and then look at the little stretchy guy just shooting people from across the entire map, generating 5 gold per round. The classic. We love to see it.
We need a counting at some point as well.
Yeah.
So far, Mines is the only one that is still intact. EMEA on top this time around. But something that we also touched upon earlier on the desk, Kaza, was the fact that Vitality does tend to drop this first match. It's kind of like their MO. It's their signature. It's the first game here at EWC. They do drop it. They don't look too happy about it. But some learning takeaways from them from this one.
Yeah, I mean, surely, right? And I think the big thing that we saw is they would drop game 1 and they would be dominant in the next 2.
Yeah.
And this game, it's hard to be too upset with yourselves. I think the general game plan was fine. Yeah. What's interesting is they both had the same game plan, actually, and they were mirrored across the board. AlQadsiah hit harder. They played a little higher tempo, and maybe that's an adjustment that Vitality needed to make, is be ready for AlQadsiah to be rolling faster, be leveling quicker, be pushing tempo with these boards and saving a lot more HP, and Vitality needs to maybe be a little bit more careful with their life totals in this next game.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as we talk about the gangplanks overall, Milk going for the, reroll line in the end, Rebinav in the end getting level 10 with the tempo line as well, being able to tempo, get the extra board online, Volta as well in the end playing towards this tempo, hitting that, Mundo 3 so early on and just showcasing the power of Dr. Mundo. When you have a Dr. Mundo 2, but the Jin 3-star in the backline, that Mundo's not going to be enough. Yeah, he's not going to, the Mundo's not going to do enough if he's only 2-star. When you hit him 3-star though, he can tank everything. He can tank the whole world.
Yeah,
nothing can stop
the entire world.
Well,
nothing can stop him.
Not Milk, but close enough. That's all
we don't talk about gangplank.
Yeah, I think just for AlQadsiah, this is a really good showing because this is that first map that, I mean, the confidence boost that we talked about as well earlier, Kaza, and we're like, even if you are able to get one win off of Vitality when it comes to this match, that is huge. And on top of that, the fact that you said it yourself as well, anything but a win here for Vitality is a huge upset, because it's also really important to keep in mind that this is Group A. This is a group with T1 in it. This is the group where at the end of the day, only 2 out of the 4 teams are going to advance. So if you lose this first game that is supposed to be a definite dominant win, where we go next.
Yeah, you can't. You really cannot. Like this is it's a must win. Every single one of these matches is a must win, and I think Vitality are going to be a little bit nervous going into this next one because those voices of like all the Twitch chatters that are going to be yapping in my stream for the next year, you know.
Stop.
It's gonna be scary. They don't want it. They don't want that to happen. So I think they're gonna lock in. I still expect them to pick up the win, but I'm impressed with AlQadsiah already starting the day off.
Yeah, we're gonna be heading over to a break because that was our first match done and dusted. We still potentially have 2 more here in this game of Vitality against AlQadsiah, so don't go anywhere because we'll be back shortly.
Overthink tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. That's when you remember who you are. Who you are. Who you are. Who you are. Overthink tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are. That's when you remember who you are. Who you are. Who you are. That's when you remember who you are. Who you are. Who you are. That's when you remember who you are. Overthink tomorrow when we're alright. That's when we forget just who we are. Make us come together and it's alright. That's when you remember who you are.
AlQadsiah are putting themselves in the lead in the SNB match of the day against Vitality, a game that we thought was going to be heavily favored for the NA team. A 2-0, if anything, is what my analyst said on the desk today. But you know, what's it like to be wrong?
I did say at the start of the day, we know nothing.
That is true.
I think this the 4v4 tournaments always bring you a lot of surprises. And I think AlQadsiah surprised us in the global qualifiers. We expected, hey, maybe they'll surprise us again, and they're starting the day by surprising us with a win against Vitality.
And what's not really a surprise here, Stuart, is the fact that Vitality lose that first match, because we've seen that time and time and time and time again. But if history repeats itself, then this one has to be very dominant.
This has to be the adaptation that they need now. They need to come into this with a new game plan now. We saw in the first game that it was all down to pretty much most teams playing the same compositions. So now it's down to Vitality. Do they have something up their sleeve that they can maybe try and go for? Do they have some extra tactic as well? Because obviously these teams have been scrimming a lot as well. We saw behind us that Vitality were out here very early for game number 2.
They were ready.
They're raring to go. They want to get straight into this game number 2 and prove everyone that they've still got what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, if you lock yourself into everyone is playing mirrored comps on both teams, I feel like you're locking yourself into a variance-heavy game because you're reliant on which teams are going to hit more. And I think that the side of AlQadsiah actually did a better job at managing that variance when we saw things like the set front line, or Volta just trying to push tempo and stay high HP, or Rebanov not going for Gangplank 3 but instead pushing to level 10, right? So they took these lines that were kind of protecting them from that variance, whereas when we look at the side of Vitality, they rolled down a proper amount of gold and they didn't hit. And guess what? If you do that, you were risking the entire game, the entire series, and they went 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, and I think as well from a team like Vitality, of course, we're going to expect that adaptation. We're going to know that they're going to look at this, they're going to learn from their mistake, they're going to hit this game, this next match, and approach it a little bit differently to not have 6, 7, 8 plates holding hands in the bottom.
Yeah, holding hands is not the way to go in a 4v4, that's for sure, because when you go 6, 7, 8, well, listen, I mean, if you want 2, 3, that's great. Holding hands there is like you're in dreamland, but when you're 6, 7, 8, unfortunately not. But I think the big thing for Vitality now, they're going to obviously talk behind the scenes. We have to see if there's any other compositions that come out as well, because I think it's very rare to actually find the same teams playing the same compositions. We didn't really have that last year for Esports World Cup. I think we still had a little bit of variance, obviously Syndra being very strong in last Esports World Cup. This time it's Gangplank. But I think the big surprise is actually Gangplank not being as contested as what maybe some of us thought. You know, we thought there might have been some more Gangplanks with how stable it is, and with so many members of Team Vitality loose streaking early on, they weren't able to stabilize their board and save the HP they needed in the early game.
I'm curious if we'll see more of that, right? Because we had Syndra last year where it was like the Syndra was so strong on that patch where we have, you know, like 3 to 5 players all with Syndras on their board for the early stages of the game. And we thought maybe GP would do that, but I think GP not being kind of stable at all on 1-star and kind of needing that 2-star to really, really be strong, I think it does make it a little bit harder to lean in that direction. And so we are getting a bit less of it. However, I'm with you. I really didn't expect to see it 3-starred in game 1. And I honestly, I'm going to hold with that. I don't really think we're going to see that many of them get 3-starred. I think they will be contested more heavily and held a lot more aggressively. I think Rebanov having 4 copies really changed the game.
So when we're looking at, I mean, we've had individual players that we really wanted to highlight from both of these rosters, and I feel like those did step up. But when it comes to Vitality, when it comes to this next match that they're heading up against, what do we want them to do differently?
I think the big thing is trying to preserve HP in the early game. I think that's going to be the big thing. You know, try and maybe stabilize the board a little bit early on. I think with loot subscription coming in as the the portal, I think with that gold coming in at the start of stage 3, players like Precifen, players like Soju are actually saving that gold and saying, hey, if we go to level 8 before AlQadsiah, we can roll down for our units. Unfortunately, too many of them tried to do that and they weren't able to hit their units. So maybe they need to look to try and play a little bit more aggressively in this second game. Try and play for a bit more of an earlier composition, play around the early composition and save HP so they're not having to panic, in stage 4, stage 5 to try and get as much HP back as they can.
I mean, I agree. If I look at the game as a holistic approach there, it was like they just ran out of life way too fast. They couldn't actually trade with each other because they were all at the bottom of the tables, whereas on the side of AlQadsiah, they had both Volta and Rebanov all kind of like 90 plus HP for the majority of the early to mid game, where they, towards the end, if they needed to, could start to sack for their teammates, whereas Vitality did not have that luxury. And we get to the point where they need to 1-2, and realistically, Soju has a comp that maybe can, because he's already 2-starred his 5 cost, he's kind of getting the comp online, but he's too low, and Milk just immediately, steamrolls him with the Gangplank.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult situation that they found themselves in, but I think as well, really important to highlight here that this is not just the first match, but like for these players, it is the first match of the tournament, right? And I think a lot of these players are gonna, you're gonna find your way through eventually, but as much as that's something that is also true, the fact that, again, it is a 4-team group with a 50% chance of making it out, and if you as Vitality are coming into this group and you're like, okay, I have T1 to play against, but there's AlQadsiah in here, like I can win that first game, and it doesn't start off too hot, you start to question whether or not this could be the first upset of EWC.
And I think the big thing as well with this group is we have T1 and Weibo playing just to our left as well. They're playing in the B stream as well, which if you're in the losers bracket, if you come up against either T1 or Weibo, that's not an easy task. And you're playing for your life at the end of the day. You're playing to stay in the tournament after you lose this first series. So Team Vitality, they need to win this next game, because if they lose this and they get 2-0'd, I'm very worried about them going into this, the next series that comes on through tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a bit scary. You start to question your meta read when you've lost immediately, but you can't question it too much when you look across and it's just a mirror.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like copy-paste.
You're playing the same comp, so at least for this one, I think there's the benefit of, well, you probably don't need to question your meta read because, well, you lost to what you were playing. So I guess it's really not one that has to be in their mind. So maybe they can just focus on everything else and not actually worry. Feel like their prep was good. They were doing well in scrims. They were beating a lot of teams. And I think they felt confident coming in. So just go with your gut. Keep going. Keep trying. I think, maybe pay a little bit more attention to the HP if you need to. But it's also possible that they felt like their spots couldn't do that and they needed to hit and then they didn't.
Yeah, and
that's the way it goes.
From the AlQadsiah side of things, though, they had a really good start, and I would like to see them replicate the success into that next match. But again, now that you've played that first match against Vitality, they kind of have a read on how you want to approach things as well. So I'm wondering whether or not they're going to bring out the exact same comps, or if they're going to make it a little bit different, throw a spanner in the work here.
I think Cass bring up a really good point during the game is kind of the flexibility and the adaptation that AlQadsiah had in game number 1. With Espag going for the Juggernaut front line, with Rebanav playing the tempo line for the gangplank instead of contesting Milk for that reroll line. I think that's what you have to do in a 4 versus 4, is that sometimes you're not going to hit the units that you want to hit, but you need to adapt and think of, how else am I going to play this? You have the Karma 2-star in the backline. I'm not going to hit the Jarvan 2 because President's already hit it. Let's play the Juggernauts instead. That set 2 is going to stabilize enough and be able to help out trying to get the placements that I need in this game 1.
I think it's unique. It'll be really telling in this game too if they do all kind of go for the same comps, because that may end up be telling for the whole tournament is like, hey, you can't allow these to be uncontested, and so therefore you have to kind of jam your way into that spot to stop the other team from getting it for free. Whereas last year we saw a lot of just random flexible compositions that were maybe tier 3, tier 4 compositions, not very good. However, you'd be playing them uncontested, so you could feel like you'd comfortably get a 5th or a 6th, which was maybe enough points for your team. And that's not what we saw in this first game. It was just S-tier comps down the board, just trying to play the best stuff.
I think the only way that could really change in this next game is if we see any hero augments, if we see any of the 1-cost rerolls as well. I think in terms of 1-cost, there wasn't too many of the crew units dropping early on. There wasn't too many KOs. If someone finds like a KO 2 and a Zac 2 early on, maybe Severe 2, Zac and Malphite 2 early on, that could be that kind of maybe adaptation. That could be that different game plan that Team Vitality might need to try and play for the 1-cost, try and play for that win out with the 1-cost instead of playing for the 2-cost instead, and contesting that Dr. Mundo line.
Yeah, no Crystal Gambit as well. I think that's notable, right? Like that will, if we do see that offered to get an emblem, I think it's going to be snap taken. So that's something that will also change the dynamic of the compositions.
I think as well it would be really nice to have maybe you guys' predictions once again, now that we've seen that first game. I know there's usually no takesies, backsies, but I think considering it's the first game of EWC and, Cass, you started off saying, oh, we know nothing, I will give you a takesies, backsies.
Vitality 2-0.
What?
I mean, that's...
Okay.
Technically, that's still possible, I guess, if you count out the first game.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm going to accept my wrong. But I'm still going to say Vitality's winning. Yeah, 2-0.
Just double down.
Double down.
But then, do you think there's a world where there's actually going to be a 2-0, but not from Vitality?
Yeah, I do. Because I think AlQadsiah is a good enough team to make it happen, right? If their spots come in better, I think in the first game, their spots were better. Yeah. I think that's just something undeniable within TFT. It's going to happen. And then they executed on that, and they found the win. And I think that they are a strong enough team, if they are given the spots to win, that they actually can take the wins over many of the teams, maybe all of the teams here, if they're given the proper spots. And I think they easily could find that 2-0 if that is the case. They find the Crystal Gambit emblem. They find the early GPs. It all align. I think they're getting there. I don't think they're going to throw that game. I think they'll make it happen.
I think it really comes down to, like you said, like if you are given these opportunities and if you're given these positions, how do you play out from them though? How are you able to use that to kind of get out on top as well? How are you able to get the points and the placements that you need? Because sometimes players are given these light spots, you know, people are given these positions, but then they don't really know how to use them positions. They don't know how to use it to try and get a top 4, to try and get a first place as well. So yeah, I agree that obviously AlQadsiah had a great spot, you know, 2-star early game blank definitely helps out, but it's about, you know, adapting, you know, rolling as well, being able to make sure that you can get them spots that you need.
Yeah, we're going to be heading over to a quick little break, and we'll be back with the second match of this game of Vitality against AlQadsiah, where we're going to see the question answered of whether or not the 2-0 here is possible.
If I heard that you if I heard that you what a shame on me. What a shame on me. If I heard that you what a shame on me. Way you do it, the way I live a life. Way you do it, the way I live a life. The way I live a life. Way you do it, way you do it, the way I live a life. Way you do it, the way I live a life. The way I live a life. Way you do it. Way you do it, the way I live a life. Way you do it, the way I live a life. The way I live a life. Way you do Hello everyone and welcome back to TFT at EWC. I know I said we're gonna jump into game as we get out of the break, but psych, I know nothing. Just
There we go.
You know,
We know nothing.
If one statement is true, is that Yeah, that's a statement that is true so far. But I think the really great discussion here would be just to continue talking about AlQadsiah and the fact that they have been able to get that first game off of Vitality. Players are just sitting, waiting for the game to start. But in the meantime, we can explore the confidence boost that they could have gotten and should have gotten from winning this first match.
So I think the biggest surprise for me for this team, and we were talking about it right before the break, is that when they do get these spots, when they get these kind of higher variant spots, the better positions, they convert every time. We saw it in the global qualifiers too. When they were seeing these really good positions, they converted and they found their wins every single time. They were the underdogs in all these matches, but they'd get one player on a great spot to go first, and they'd go first. It's just like how Soju was talking about Milk, and how when he sees the spot, he will go first or second. It's not even a question of his execution. And it's been surprising that AlQadsiah has kind of felt that way in the few matches we've seen. And yes, it's just one match here at EWC, but in the qualifiers, they had that same kind of characteristic. And I think that is amazing to watch for a team that has only accolades in any of their individual TFT careers stacked onto Volta, where the rest of them don't have that, and yet they've still performed at an extremely high level in this 4v4 tournament.
I mean, this won't be the first time as well. If AlQadsiah go for that 2-0, and if they win 2-0, it's not the first time they're going to be beating that NA super team. You know, they were able to beat 100 Thieves during that last chance qualifier, being able to take them down as well, which no one expected. And they're trying to do the unthinkable in this series as well. So even though we come into this and we know how strong Team Vitality is, you know, this is a team that didn't drop a single series during the qualifier. They didn't drop a single series during the open and closed qualifier. So we know that this team has a togetherness. They've been friends for such a long time. You know, they talked about the interview at the start of the day as well, how they can talk to each other, they can be open with each other, and they can take criticism with each other. But AlQadsiah in game number 1 as well, being able to come out on top just means that backs are against the wall now for Team Vitality. We know how strong this group is.
Yeah, I do think, though, if there is any team to be put in this position to have that mental and ability to fight their way back out and to get back on track and to do everything right, it is going to be Vitality. I mean, already touching upon the fact that they have been friends for such a long period of time. But then also, like, on top of that, they have been boot camping. So they have that, they've had that experience of playing 4v4, sitting together, smiling at each other, or maybe not smiling when things don't necessarily go their way. And I think this is a team that at the end of the day, they got to the position they were in last year because of how good they were. And they could replicate it, but maybe it's just a slower start as usual.
Yeah, it could just be a slow start, right? I mean, end of the day, as you said, they had their boot camp. From there, also, they are all streamers. They all stream TFT. That is their like full-time job. And so yes, there's the content team or whatever, but no, they're also top-level players. But they all took time off of streaming to just prep 4v4, to keep some of their tech hidden, to try and make sure that they gave themselves the best chance to win. And it's the most important tournament of the year for them. You hear Milk say it. He wants to win this tournament more than he wants to win a world championship in TFT, and that is saying a lot.
Absolutely. I think that also kind of feeds back to last year specifically when they were in that finals against Wolves and them not, you know, when you get so close, but yet you're so far. They were able to taste what that victory could have been like, but they let it left them go at that last couple of seconds. So I think for Vitality as well, it's more about coming back here on this international stage and proving themselves and being able to showcase to the world that they're able to do what they can. But this is the first step that they need to take on the second match to be able to reverse sweep if necessary.
All right, well, let's jump in to this second map. AlQadsiah up 1-0 over Vitality. And Stuart, we'll get a chance to see what portal we're on this time around, what encounter we get. As Espat is going to be the board we're first seeing out the gates. Usually I would comment on maybe like a Crystal Gambit, but that's just the Syndra. So one cost is not always going to be the scariest one that we'll see right away.
Not a 2-cost or a 3-cost. It's not the Vi, it's not the Swain. You know, sometimes if you do get dropped that Swain early on, you can try and go towards that as well. But sometimes when some of these 3-costs drop, it actually gives you a bit of direction as well. You know, if you get dropped in early like Malzahar, if you get dropped in early Ari as well, these could be units that can be great to be able to tempo your board and also be able to play for the line that you need to later on down the line.
Just get dropped to GP.
I didn't, well.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What?
How about that?
You spoke it into existence.
What about that?
Do you just sell the Syndra here and you use the power up and you get Tiny Terror? I mean, Tiny Terror is not bad.
No, I mean, it had Midas Touch on the Syndra, so now trying to tailor away.
Ooh.
Doesn't find anything good, but I mean, except a gangplank on 1-4.
Yeah.
That's kind of good.
So for those who are maybe new to the set, might have actually thought, why are you using the power-up on the Fury? Why are you not using it on the GP? This is something that players have started to learn, that you can actually, tailor these power-ups early on. You can actually use the power-ups, and then you won't be able to find the same power-ups in the next one. So you use it on the Fury. You won't be able to hopefully find the stretchy arms, and you put on the gangplank, hope you get more chance of getting it. But unfortunately, missed this time.
Yeah, so we're going to get silvers once again here, Story, but that does mean that these one-cost rerolls can show up. We can find those hero augments, which historically were very popular in a 4v4 format, and so I'm wondering if we'll see that here as well. Espat is going to find a pair for this gangplank, so looks like Espat likely going to be the gangplank seat, also having Edge of Night as a slam with a bow open. I mean, I think this is exactly what you're looking for a gangplank spot. And we said AlQadsiah, when they have the spots, when they have these high variance spots that you are looking for, they've been able to convert. They've shown us that they convert time and time again. So Espat, it's your turn.
Yep. They're going to be definitely slam with the Edge of Night, as you mentioned, very, very powerful for gangplank. If he does get focused early on, it does mean that he can toggle that aggro as well. That bow being able to build into the Kraken Slayer later on, or even being built into the Rage Blade, which is going to be great as well. But we just have to see and figure out what the other players are going to be going for. As we see, Flouders on the other side does have that KO2 to start off with. I did mention that if you do find that KO2 early on, if you do find that Zac2, there is an option that you can go for, trying to play towards the KO into Juggernauts. We know how strong the Juggernauts are, but it's really about what you can use on that back line as that carry to do enough damage when the Juggernauts are tanking so much.
Yeah, and it's Parazax to go alongside the KO, so maybe consideration towards that direction, especially not pumping any XP. A lot of the AlQadsiah players staying on level 3. We do have Prestivan is going to be stretchy arms gangplank with an Edge of Night slam. So Prestivan will be the contest, at least for now, on the gangplank direction. Having component buffet, going to be able to try and move towards that very easily. And, not having the pair, but that is the gangplank. And that's what we're looking at, right? Is it just going to be the same kind of compositions as the last game? If we do get the KL, obviously that will be a change-up, but just because we see the KL2, that just might be an early game kind of setup and may just push to 6 and use the KL2 at 6 to kind of stabilize instead.
Yeah, if you can use Rage Blade, especially you can get the Radiant version as well, you can actually stabilize on that KO as well and actually stabilize and make sure that you can go to level 8, you can go to level 9 as well. There's Volt on the other side. Maybe looking towards the Katarina.
Yeah,
there was a Katarina
cats.
with the Callista on the board, pair of cats as well. That's one of the 2 costs we didn't really talk about in the previous game, but is a possibility. Katarina with Battle Academia can jump around and do a lot. The problem is it does struggle a little bit against the gangplank because it doesn't do a lot of single target damage. But we'll have to wait and see, as you mentioned. Yeah, pair of Katarinas. See where you go from it. In terms of items, you do have the tier for the Hodge potentially as well. You normally go Hodge into Guardbreaker plus another item as well. So you have a few decent components here as well. It's not slamming.
Yeah, just need a lot of gloves.
Yeah.
Right. And here we've got a branching out for Setsuko. It's going to be Sniper Emblem, so we could see the direction there. Not having the Mundos immediately, and we did see Mundos on a couple other boards, so I'm curious if Mundo Jin will be something that he can get into, or if it's going to be just some kind of other Juggernaut Sniper board, something like that down the line.
He does have a few early Malphites and early Severe as well, so it could also maybe pivot towards the crew. It could be a potential. As you mentioned with the Snipers, you can also go for the Jin line as well. But if that Jin line is contested, as you mentioned, with Dr. Mundos being off the board as well, this might be the adaptation that Setsuko needed, that Team Vitality needed in this game, that we saw that every single composition was contested in the first game, whereas this time, if you play an uncontested line, it could give you that little bit of an edge.
Yeah, and just taking stock as we get into Carousel, the early win streaks are Prestivan and Espat, the 2 Gangplank players. At the bottom of the table is Setsuko, Soju, and Flouders, all on the loss streaks, but Milk is going to be able to pick up the grab first. Milk, it looks like, having that wild and free.
Yeah, anyone picking up the Gangplank? Is he just going to waddle his way along?
Well, if he gets to Espat, that is a Gangplank 2 on stage 2 once again for AlQadsiah.
And Volta leaves
and Espat is the one to get it. So GP2, stage 2 for AlQadsiah, and we said if they get the spots they've been converting, let's see if they can prove that once again.
And that's really big as well. You see Volta in the end was kind of hovering as well, you know, do we pick it up or something? But in the end, Volta leaving that gangplank.
Yeah, and Rebinov also just grabbing Mundo 2. So all these priority 2 costs being picked up on stage 2 for AlQadsiah.
Yep, you can see there GP2 already online. You have the Edgenite in there as well to help out. You also have a Yasuo on the bench as well. Normally with this composition, normally you roll at 3-2, you try and stabilize on that GP2 and then you level to level 7 to try and find a rise, try and find that full mentor. But when you find GP2 this early on, it makes it so you don't need to roll on 3-2. You can just go straight towards level 7, try and roll down, find that full mentor, and we know how frustrating it can be to play against Mentor sometimes because you have so much CC coming along with the Kabuko, you have the anti-heal coming on in with the Udyr, and also the Yasuo just being able to dash around as well. So it can be very difficult to play against, and why it's been so popular. But at the same time, SPAC can just farm gold for fun as well. Yeah,
I mean, genuinely, as Vitality, you're probably a bit frustrated having to play against 2 Stage 2 GP2s in this early stage of the tournament, and they have to just be able to lock in and find a way around this, right? They have to still find a path to victory. They know that SPAT is going to be a problem, and they have to be able to try and find the win regardless.
I'm going to be really curious now to see if SPAT does the same thing as what Rebinov did in the last game. You know, is he going to play for tempo? Is he going to play for the reroll? We see the 2 GP players side by side in the moment with Persevan and SPAT. One might be going for the reroll, one might be going for the tempo. Both might try and go for tempo. I think that's really the question when it comes down to this, is what direction they're going to go in and what do they feel like is best for their teams as they come head-to-head.
Yeah, SPAT is going to run to Persevan here. Stretchy Arms is a bit better, but this is just Gangplank 2, and I feel like that's just going to be the diff. I'm curious if the targeting can help out at all, but it's not like Persevan really has an upgraded front line to kind of make this work. He does have the Mighty Mech in, but yeah, really, it is just going to be Gangplank 2 versus Gangplank 1, and that's all she wrote on that one. Persevan going to lose the win streak in Stage 2, so that's another blow towards Team's Vitality.
Yeah, not keeping the streak. One person keeping the streak, the other person not. Kind of same as game number 1, where Vitality lost the streak just before neutrals as well on 2-6. So not being able to find that extra bit of gold. We see Setsuko rolling down a little bit, kind of figuring out what he wants.
Is this crew? It looks like it might be crew.
Yeah, it could be the crew angle here. We see the roll down a little bit happening. Keeping hold of some KOs as well, and a Jin on the bench. So Setsuko kind of playing as the sacrificial one in game number 1. It looks like he's also doing the same here as well. He's going to be rolling down for these crew units, but as you can see, he's actually keeping hold of Kales and Zax as well.
I think that does mean that there was a Kale commit on the side of AlQadsiah, and so we see that Setsuko is going to just try and slow that down a little bit while also rolling for crew, and here it is.
Yeah, so this is what's going to happen now. Because we're having 2 1-cost rerolls in this game instead of the 2 costs, both of these players are going to be rolling down for the 3-star, but they're all going to be rolling down to try and deny as well at the same time. As we see side by side,
a lot of kills picked up for Setsuko.
Yep, they're both rolling down.
He's just 2 away on the Sivir.
Actually sells away the Zax in the end.
Yeah, recognizing he just needs bench space, right? He has to still prioritize his own comp first.
6 KOs on the sides, or Flouders on the left side of your screen.
1 away from Sivir now for Setsuko.
He doesn't want to sell these KOs though, does he? Look, he doesn't want to sell them to even try and pick up the Ziggs or anything as well. He wants to keep them 6 KOs on his bench, because that's a lot of KOs that Flouders is not going to be able to pick up. So we'll have to see if that makes any difference with Flouders with his roll down. But you see that Flouders actually kind of realized that and adapted. He didn't roll down as much gold as what you normally do at this stage. You normally roll down to 30 gold, maybe even lower if you are really close to that 3-star. But actually saving it up, realizing that, hey, Setsuko is holding so many KOs. Maybe we wait until Setsuko sells it, which, as you mentioned, might need the bench space, and then he rolls down afterwards.
I mean, and also, you just can't afford to roll as deep on the KO composition because you so desperately need levels. You can't lose these econ break points as kind of as much as crew can. Crew can kind of get away with it a little bit easier.
I totally agree. I feel like with level 9 being so important for that KO, it's going to be doing so much AoE damage in the end, getting to level 9. This is a different composition. I've seen it a little bit where you go for Kai'Sa 3 into Mundo 3 with max attack as well. So he's going to be able to stack up this AD on this Kai'Sa over time. It's a bit of a different variation to something like Jin Mundo, but with Mundo being such a strong frontline, it's just about having that backline carry uncontested to try and reach 3-star and deal enough damage.
Yeah, it's one of the conditions that you can go for it. And we do see it's 5 copies here of Kai'Sa, so maybe this is a commit towards the line. Going to be going for those Juggernauts contesting the Mundos and maybe just recognizing that another 2-cost reroll could just be open. This is a change in strategy, right? Not just full contesting all the AlQadsiah's players and instead having kind of a myriad of different compositions that they're actually looking at, especially this, snipers, which I think Sniper TF as a late game win out for Setsuko is actually a pretty big open that he could find.
Yeah, it could do some crazy damage because sometimes that Twisted Fate can actually target the backline carries as well. And with the snipers +1 in there, it can do so much damage. But we're seeing in the end as well that, the Kai'Sa board is still going to do enough though. Setsuko's still sitting on 1-off of the Severe right now, still only has 30 gold. Milk though did roll down at 3-2 to try and hit that Mundo 2-star. Unfortunately wasn't able to hit the Mundo 2, which makes it very difficult. But meanwhile, Espat,
oh, there's no way.
Early volley bear as well.
Destined into Golemify, lost his GP2 and has found a new GP1. We literally talked about this earlier with the Destinies. I was saying that sometimes you just hit Golemify when you really don't want to, and it can kind of break your game. And I think this hurts Espat. However, Golemify is insane. It is an insane augment. It is super high tempo, so it's going to buy a lot of space as well.
And you know what's even more hilarious as well? Because he got rid of that GP2, the power-up came off. He put the power-up on GP again, and he got stretchy arms.
It's ridiculous.
So actually, it's better for him, even though
kind of,
I mean, he lost the GP2.
Yeah,
he lost the GP2, but now he has a bigger front line with the Golemify at the front to actually, help the GP stack up the damage. He now has stretchy arms, and he still has the items as well. So the Destiny coming up pretty huge in meme terms, but actually worked out pretty good for Espat, and you can tell by him keeping a streak.
Yeah, I mean, Golemify in Stage 3, you usually are just going to win out. It is so much HP in the front line for them, but as we do see that, is going to be a win streak continuing there. Setsuko falling very low. Once again, Vitality, look at just the HP. It is a struggle. Yeah. AlQadsiah constantly holding these top 3 spots throughout the early and mid game, and Vitality needs to find some of these mid game win streaks on Stage 3. They're losing a lot of Stage 3 fights, and I think that was one of the big problems in the first game is just the Stage 3, they lost so much health.
And as we're expecting here, both the 1-cost rerolls sitting at the bottom at the moment.
Of course.
The Severe 3 was hit by Setsuko. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a lot of AD under his belt, though. I think the big thing is that he has the Rage Blade, he has the extra attack speed in there, which is not really going to help Severe too much, But the big thing with the crew, we mentioned, in the green room as well, you need to hit these 3-stars on the crew. You need to be able to get the rockets online, the ship online as well. But it can easily be denied at the same time. Flouders is actually being stopped pretty heavily by these KOs. We can see that Setsuko did hold on to 6 KOs, now only has 3, but we did see Soju on the other hand as well, also keeping hold of KOs. So they're trying their best to roll down and hit these units, but also try and keep some as well. It's a Katarina
that's a great
hold.
shot.
Oh, still one away though.
It's a huge roll down. I mean, he's...
There we go, that's huge.
Finds the Malphite just 2 Shens away. This roll down has gone very well for Setsuko, getting to 6. Finding a lot of what he needed, finding all of the 1-cost. So now he's on 2 costs and he's level 6. So that's great. This is exactly where he wants to be. Very low on gold, but I would say that at least this roll down was very good. And if he can stabilize and actually start winning some fights here, I think he's in a great position.
Yeah, the big thing as well is that with the crew, when you hit one of your units 3-star as well, every single time that you use a roll, you're actually getting XP as well at the same time. So he was rolling down, trying to get to level 6, but also trying to find that extra 3-star as well. So now every single time that he starts a new round, he gets a free reroll.
And he can roll this deep also because he's got this Gambler's Blade on the Sivir with the Ginsu. So he's he's refreshing some of this gold, he's recouping some of the econ loss through having this economy generating item. And that is going to be a saving grace for Setsuko here at 51 HP, but he's started to hit these crew units. Espat finally losing the win streak.
Round, yep. But it was against his teammate, though, Rebenav, who looks like he's going for the Dr. Mundo as well. So it looks like Milk is contesting Rebenav at the moment with the Dr. Mundo, one going for Jin and one going for the Kai'Sa. So again, kind of that adaptation that we was talking about. Instead of contesting the Jin, instead of contesting one of these 2-cost 3-stars, you go for something else instead, like the Kai'Sa. Might not have the same spike as what Jin does, but can still get it online a little bit earlier.
And I'm curious how early he had it. If it's been stacking the entire game, the Kai'Sa does have some really good cap-out potential. So we'll see if, Milk can realize that, or if he is kind of playing that, you know, 5th, 6th position, 6th, 7th position for the team.
No, exactly that. You see the inner fire on this Aatrox at the moment does hit the Aatrox 3-star. This is another one of the 3-stars that you can hit with this composition, because Aatrox can be a really big front line, and with inner fire as well, you are going to get that burn on the front line, which is going to be really huge. Frost Touch is maybe not the best for KO. Is going to be able to CC and do a little bit in terms of freezing that front line, but in terms of damage, you really want ones like Double Strike, which could be really huge as well for the KO when it's stacking up that Rage Blade. But overall, you're seeing Setsuko maybe is going to be a little bit stable now with this board. This Malphite 3-star front line is coming really huge, and if you're in Flouder's spot at the moment, you're kind of hesitating a little bit. Like, do I need to keep rolling for this KO? You know, KOs are being held across the boards. How much do I need to roll? I
mean, this is big for Vitality. They've actually put Flouders in jail. I mean, Flouders 32 HP, level 5, just having 2 away from Kale, 40 gold, so not even at the full 50, making the econ. Gonna have to just kind of dig for this Kale. And if he misses on this roll down, I mean, I actually think Flouders is gone. I think Flouders might just be gone anyway. I actually don't know if Flouders can recover from this position and escape the 8th place. I think this has been a good job from Vitality, holding the units, and a little bit of luck finally swinging their way with Flouders not being able to hit through them holding a bunch of Kales.
And as you said, as you mentioned as well, with this KO, it's not the 3-star spike that you get from the crew, for example. You know, once you get the crew 3-star, you get that extra power, you get the extra rerolls. With KO, you're really looking at even just hitting level 6 upgrades to KO, which Flouders is not even level 6, by the way. But as you mentioned before, you want to get enough gold to reach level 9, you know, be able to get that extra AoE damage on this KO. But Flouders not being able to hit any at all is really struggling, and it's really going to come down to his roll down. Needs to hit KO 3 on this turn.
There's the KO. It did hit it fast, so that is very important, right? Didn't have to roll too deep for it. Goes to 6. Has this Juggernaut augment to be able to kind of beef up that front line even more, which is exactly what you want. You want to be able to have these Juggernauts be as strong as possible, but missing out on frontline items, and it is just going to be Edge of Night Kale. Maybe trying to stay away from the Stretchy Arms GP, sniping her down very early. And it's kind of tech to try and get around that, but Flouders being so low, level 6, I don't know if this Kale is strong enough, as he's hitting his 1-cost 3-star as Milk hits his 2-cost 3-star with the Kai'Sa 3.
Setsuko as well, also hitting Janna 3, which is not a crew unit, so it's not going to help with that, but Janna 3 is another 3-star out that can really help out as well. So this game, it looks like it's slowly turning around for Team Vitality. Again, the adaptation, playing different lines, not contesting the same lines that AlQadsiah were doing in game number 1, and it's actually going to be huge as well, as Flouders is going to lose another round as well. And as you said, Cass, I think it might just be over for him. I think he's just not going to be able to spike quick enough.
He's just too far behind, because you're looking at that Soju board, and it's like Karma 1, yeah, it's got an upgraded front line, and yeah, he's level 8, so it's a 2-level advantage, but it's not like it's that impressive of a board, and Flouders just hit, right? He hit everything. That's the problem with the Kale. You have to hit early. You need to hit on like the 3-1 hit and then go to level 9.
Yes, exactly.
And that's where the comp shines. It is way too late, way too little for Flouders.
Setsuko unfortunately missing.
Yeah, the duo Q.
Yeah, was trying to hit the Twisted Fate.
Didn't
if
get
you
it.
hit the Twisted Fate this early on stage 4, we know how how strong this unit can be. We're stacking up that passive over time, giving you free rerolls, giving you gold, giving your units extra stats as well. As we haven't seen Volta's board for a while, we did see that he was, you know, kind of going towards this Katarina early on as well. Does have the Portable Forge, but it's just keeping the Portable Forge on the bench for now. So yeah, just going to put that on the Rakan, but overall not really anything, you know, too crazy on this board. You know, no 3-stars a hit just yet. Actually might even try and go for Caitlyn 3 as well on the bench. So keeping hold of a lot of units, but I think you have to, if you're in AlQadsiah's position right now, you have to look for the win-out position. Yeah, so you have to try and
Precedent holding some of these Katarinas as well on the Gangplank board. Should, you know, because he's fully stable with the Stretchy Arms Gangplank right now, as you can just see the power of this, staying away from the Katarina while still casting through, both of them having their Edge of Knights ready to go. Edge of Knight, yeah. And there you go. Voltig's going to take the loss. Prestevant holds on to this big win streak with that Gangplank. And that's the struggle the Katarina can sometimes do against the Gangplank. You know, the Katarina doesn't have that single target damage and isn't really able to burst the Gangplank, and then the Edge of Knight can be very, very annoying. Flouders actually going for Portable Forge, finding the static, was maybe looking for something else, like maybe Flicker Blades, obviously being one of the best items, one of the best artifacts for KO to stack up the attack speed. Does unfortunately only get the static instead. As Milk, on the other hand, we were talking about this board as well. One of max attack is still on Milk's board, and like we said, we already saw it early on stage 2, and it might have been going for quite some time. Katarina 3 has been hit for Volta. The roll downs are coming on through now. I think there's a little bit of
kind of a hesitation, a little bit of worriness now for AlQadsiah, knowing that they're kind of losing a little bit on HP and they need to try and hit these 3 stars.
Yeah, it looks like Volta also may be giving up on 3-star Recon and just going to be able to put the power-up on Leona and the items there as well. Just committing to that and to start pushing levels instead of actually worrying about rerolling for Recon anymore. We'll look for one more Caitlyn, because actually, one away from 3-starring Caitlyn. Usually the 3 costs don't get 3-starred very much in 4v4 because they get held, but no one bothered to hold Caitlyn's because I think they're just not worried about that. They're more worried about the Katarina getting hit. It finally does get hit, and now Volta has the chance to maybe start to bring this game back, but we heard a lot of rumbles that Katarina is maybe not as good in the 4v4 because of the ability to position around this unit. It's possible that this Caitlyn is exactly the injection that Volta needs, though, to make this comp still work.
And sometimes the Caitlyn can snipe on these, backline units as well if you're playing against the Sorcerers as well. Especially if it gets 3-starred, it can be really, really huge. There is a Gwen on the Carousel and a Brom, which are 2 really, really big 5 costs. I believe it was Soju who was actually playing towards the Sorcerers. So if this gets left for Soju, it could be pretty big if he wants to try and go for this.
He didn't get to go yet, and Flouders, it looks like, will just take it away.
Yeah, I think the deny in the end, I think for Flouders, I don't think he really needs much in terms of items. Maybe he needs more frontline items, but realizing that Soju is on that Sorcerer line, we know how big of a power spike that Gwen can be on the Sorcerer line.
Yeah, I mean, it's Flouders' job at this point to try and grief as many Vitality players as possible. Flouders very likely going 8th. He needs to just do anything in his power, and I think that was by far the best thing that he can do, is take that Gwen away. Looks like it might even make his board, which is very funny. I didn't expect that to be the case, but at least denying it from Soju, I think, is the biggest factor here.
As Pat on the other side, on the right-hand side, of course, with that Golema 5, was able to basically get rid of his GP2, was able to find another GP2, but now also playing for that tempo GP that we said a little bit as well. Espat also has quite a lot of gold, so he was able to get to level 8. Wasn't able to find too much on his level 8 roll down, though. Only found really a Yone 1, and that's it. Sometimes you can try and go towards the Volibear, as an example, can be very strong in this composition, but not find anything right now. As we see the Kayle reroll against Kai'Sa. This Kai'Sa has been stacking up with max attack this entire game, so let's see if it can do enough damage to break through this Aatrox.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, we've got this unstoppable Vi 3 for Milk, giving a lot more crowd control, and I mean, Milk's board looking pretty solid. Yeah. This 2-cost reroll, able to find all his hits except for the Mundo, which was contested, but still finding outs with the Kai'Sa and with the Vi. Able to take Flouders down all the way to 8 HP. This game is looking a lot better for Vitality. Espat does take down Volta, but we look at the HP, and Setsuko is the only one who's very low, and he's been this low for a while. He's actually been finding wins with the crew and holding on to this low HP that he had from a very early part of the game.
Yeah, with the crew, you're really trying to look to hit the crew, 4 of the crew's 3-star. If you hit 4 of the crew's 3-star, you get that ship that helps you out, that deals the extra damage, and you can actually try and move the items over to the Ziggs 3-star. Be interested to see what spot he is in the moment, but as we've seen with Flouders, throughout most of this game, his units has been held, especially by Setsuko, holding 6 KOs with Soju as well, so really struggling. Only level 7, does have 50 gold, but as we said, it's not level 8 that you need, it's level 9. And coming up against the Volta Katarina 3 as well, this could be the end for Flouders.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, the Kayle is very far away from this Katarina, so it will take some time to get over there, and you do have the Aatrox to contend with. It feels like maybe Volta can actually get there with the Cat, just casting, already losing the Edge of Night as the kind of change of focus onto the Leona is going to slow things down, but this Aatrox doesn't seem to be going anywhere for a while. I think Flouders should be okay to get past this fight. Volta going to take the loss, but Rebinov also taking a loss, so this time around, AlQadsiah going to be in these bottom 2 spots, Flouders and Rebinov, Volta taking that other loss down to 40. As we see Setsuko hitting another Ziggs, it looks like that's probably 6 copies of the unit as he's looking towards getting yet another 3-star for the crew.
And look how rich Soju is on this line. Soju we haven't really seen too much in this game, but already had the Karma 2 and I believe the Jarvan 2 on the front line, and we mentioned that if you can hit these 2-stars on these 4 costs, you become very, very stable. And then you can try and push to level 9, try and find these 5 costs later on, which you can find the likes of Brom, which can save you HP, the Gwen, which is going to be able to do a lot of damage as well.
Yeah, speaking of Brom, Rebinov does actually hit this Brom while playing 3 Luchador, so going to have the ability to go to 4 Luchador, and that may be able to stabilize a little bit of time for Rebinov.
Oh my...
Brom 2 out of nowhere.
I think I just heard the player said, oh my god, as well. Like, that reaction was crazy. Level 9 now for Rebinov. The Brom 2 online, which is... That was just from one shot.
Picked up as well.
That was from one shot as well. That was crazy.
TF2
as well, which is actually going to deny Setsuko as well, because of course he wants to try and find the Twisted Fate as well. And suddenly Rebinav was in a really tough spot in terms of his HP, but now with this board online, actually going to move the items over to the Twisted Fate as well. Rebinav could be on the comeback.
Yeah, he gets to play some 5-cost soup and actually potentially look for a lot of time for his team with that, as Flounders does run in to Soju once again. Last time around, the front line could not stand up to the Karma, and it looks like we might just be seeing a repeat of that, as Flounders is going to take the 8th that we expected. Rebinav lost.
He dies?
Right after taking those. He's going to go down to 4 life.
Oh.
Finds all these 5-cost upgrades, getting them 2-star, and then loses it. I'm curious which player was able to take Rebinav down.
That is absolutely crazy, man. You thought with his board that, you know, with the 4 Luchador online, with that Twisted Fate as well, not enough, unfortunately. Even finds a Varus on the bench, but...
I guess it's a lot of unupgraded front lines here, right? Like, you do have the Mundo, who is quite good, but it's still, at the end of the day, as much as we joke about it being a 4-cost, it is a 2-cost 2-star. It just stats-wise, even with the 4 Luchador, it is an insane unit, but it is not going to win against everything. As going up against Volta, who has removed the items from Katarina, will be able to try and hold out for Rebinav to live another fight. Volta making a good team play. Caitlyn not cooperating, tries to take out the TF, but it should be plenty because the not having any items on the Katarina should give plenty of space.
Really great communication here by AlQadsiah with Volta removing the Katarina items, realizing that he was in his pool as well. But the problem is Setsuko is still winning as well. We haven't seen how many crew units he has 3-star just yet, but I mean, he's looking to try and get some wins as well. And actually, with that Volta loss, it means that it's gone down quite a lot.
And now Prestivan has hit the 3-star gangplank. And we talked about, hey, if they don't all play these mirrored compositions, what happens? And Soju has had uncontested Sorks to be able to get all the way through. It was clearly a tempo GP because the Golemify took so many copies out of the pool. Prestivan's now been able to hit 3-star Kabuko, 3-star Yasuo, and 3-star Gangplank because it's not contested on his units.
Exactly that. I mean, being uncontested is absolutely crazy. And actually going up against Soju here as well. Actually going to be slamming the items in the end. And probably going to mean that Soju is going to lose this round. But Soju with more HP, I think they'll be completely fine with that. As on the right-hand side as well, Volta against Setsuko is a really, really big fight. But it looks like the crew is coming out on top. You can see them rockets flying on in on the edge as well. Once you get these 3 stars online, the rockets start to do a lot of damage with the crew.
Yeah, it's huge for this fight win because Volta did just hit Caitlyn 3, so that's kind of as strong as Volta's going to get for the rest of the game, and he's losing to Setsuko, who's not the strongest member of Team Vitality, so that's massive for Vitality overall, as Rebinav at 4, Volta at 9. Both of them could fall. Espat has enough HP that they could go for a Rebinav Espat 1-2. It is possible for them to get there, but Rebinav has to be able to win against Espat. They have to be able to sacrifice for that to happen. Rebinav needs to have the strongest board in the entire game to do that, and I think that's not going to happen with Prestivan on all the 3 stars with the gameplay.
I think the problem now is that if anyone of AlQadsiah goes 7th now, I don't think anyone's beating Prestivan for that first place. So
I agree.
I think it's going to be
a struggle.
I think it's going to be pretty impossible for them to even beat that Gangplank, the Kabuko 3 and the Yasuo 3 as well. We saw that, you know, Rebinav did, you know, high roll pretty much on that Brom 2 on the Twisted Fate 2, but sometimes these fight costs are not enough in terms of damage, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. As we see now some of these removers happening for these power-ups, people trying to hit the best in slot power-ups for some of these units. You're seeing changing it all around, trying to get anything that they can at the moment. But I don't know if it's going to be enough, as both of AlQadsiah's members are going to be super low on health, and it's pretty much down to 1 life as well, and they could go potentially up against each other, as Volta's up against a Ghost and Rebinav is up against his teammate in Espat.
Yeah, that was the problem, right? Espat, you didn't want this to happen. You do want Espat to lose against Rebinav so Rebinav can stick around.
Kabuko
gets
line.
onto the TF
no.
to perma-stun him. It's going to be a struggle as the Gangplank is just doing a lot of damage, but the Kabuko's just soloing. Kabuko 2 solos the Twisted Fate. Though it is still enough, Rebinav has enough frontline. Brom 2 is a beast with the 4 Lucha. So even with the Kabuko doing that, all the poros for Rebinav going to be able to be enough there for the Brom to take that win. That was scary.
Yeah, it was.
That they easily could have just lost everything there. If Rebenov falls to SPAT, that's every single chance of them actually winning this game, trying to find the 1-2.
And the big thing now with Revenant is he has a little bit more HP. He probably will die from a single lost steal, but he does have a few poros, which is one of Brom's passes where he can give you poros, which is going to take some HP from your tactician, so it's going to help you out a little bit. Is coming up against Precedent's board, though, which we know Precedent's spike is so high with this GP3.
Well, he did get the Kabuko away from the Twisted Fate this time, so he will at least have his carry alive for longer. As we are just watching the Brom. Can the Brom do enough to the gangplank? Brom goes down, and that's just going to be it for Rebenov. Oh. Rebenov going to fall. Volta going to fall. Vitality strikes back.
1-1 now in this series. A 6-7-8. Pretty much a mirror of game number 1 now. And this is what Vitality needed to come back into this as well. That adaptation that we were talking about. You know, not contesting the same lines as AlQadsiah was going for. Playing for the Kaiser 3. Playing for the crew as well. And I love this from Team Vitality. And it means that the 6-7-8 holding hands goes to AlQadsiah.
Look, the Vitality script got pretty predictable during the opens. I was hoping when they were writing Season 2 of Vitality's run through EWC that maybe they try something a little bit more creative, but once again we have lose Game 1 disastrously, dominate in Game 2, and if the previous scripts are correct, dominate in Game 3, but we'll you know, we still got some more TFT to play, but that has been the start here. As kind of expected, you know, we've seen them lose a lot of Game 1s. They always bounce back, at least for now. They have not been stricken down by anybody in a Game 3.
And it was really down to, you know, Precedent in the end hitting these 3 stars as well. And even Milk as well, on a line that we didn't really expect to see at the start of the day. You know, we know how strong this Dr. Mundo can be as a front line. A lot of people playing these Juggernauts at the front line. But people are playing towards more Jin, more Na, more of these carries on the back line. But going for the Kaiser instead is great adaptation. Again, he probably has max attack this whole time as well. So that Kaiser is hurting like a truck.
It's the condition to play Kaiser reroll if you're curious about this composition. If you find an early Kaiser and immediately roll max attack, you can just go for this reroll line. It is actually quite strong. Now, end of the day, it's a bit weaker than some of the other S-tier compositions, so you might find yourself falling in a 4th place. But guess what? In 4v4, that's a pretty great placement to find yourself in. Anywhere in the top 4, you're going to be pretty happy with. And especially on an uncontested composition, I really like this out of Milk.
Great spot to be in, and even is one away as well from, is he even going to hit the Dr. Mundo 3? I wonder if he removes the items, double ups on that Dr. Mundo as well. Yep, probably going to do that. Standalone could go for as well, potentially, but he's just going to remove it, try and get something else. Round 2 is one of the best that you can go for to try and just get that extra body on the line, the extra target dummy, which is going to help out as well. But actually go for adaptive skin in the end, so it's kind of like an extra goggle stone plate where you gain more armor, you gain more magic resist as well as he comes up against his teammate Soju.
Yeah, we'll see who's a bit stronger. That Jarvan positioning is absolutely brutal. So it looks like that might just be enough for Soju to pick up that win, and I think it is. There's the Karma with the cast. Milk going to go down in 4th, but his job is done on the Kaiser reroll, finding a top 4. Outliving 3 members of AlQadsiah. And it is just SPAT remaining, playing the tempo GP. We know this is not going to win any more rounds. It's already been losing. The Golemify, you know, it's the risk of destiny. I mean,
that's true.
It can happen. It is still very strong for tempo. And the fact is, he top 3'd with this. He was not supposed to be the win-out player at the point where the Golemify happened. He is now supposed to play for HP for his team, and he did that. Right, he was able to make that top 3. Whether or not SPAT was maybe supposed to be the hope to be the win-out player for the team, that's another story. And, you know, the Destiny give and take at the end of the day. I don't even know if Golem is like that much of a take, though. It's pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
if strong augment.
I think if you had GP2, you probably wouldn't click
probably
it.
A bit more happy.
Yeah, but I mean, Destiny, as you mentioned as well, it's not normally like the augment that you get. It's the extra gold that you get on top of it. You get so much gold from silver, gold, and even prismatic Destiny. But I think it comes up with it. I think this brings up a good conversation point about the series and maybe the tournament as a whole, because we know GP is going to be very popular as Precedent goes down to 1 HP, but we know GP is going to be very popular, but we're normally seeing one team playing tempo GP and one team playing for the reroll, and the team that's playing for the reroll is hitting GP3, Kabuko 3, which means that you have that win-out composition. I wonder if it comes into a play where, you know, game number 3 or maybe other series where the 2 GP players just both reroll and they both contest each other and they hold hands in the end. Because in the end, if you're playing Tempo GP, it's great, but that 3-star GP is always going to win out.
Yeah, it's weird because it's such a strong composition that you don't want to hold hand spot 4 if you have the spot to play GP.
Yeah.
Right? So even if your reroll spot isn't there, you kind of have to seed it and play tempo because it's better for your team's game for you to top 4 because the tempo of GP is so high right now than to attempt to roll down with your opponent and potentially go bottom 4 when you had the gangplank spot and it was your job to make top 4.
In the end, Soju silently going to level 10, I feel like, this game. We didn't speak about him too much, but he was able to go to level 8. He was able to find the Karma 2 and that Jarvan 2. Uncontested, as you mentioned, on Sorks as well. No one on AlQadsiah was able to focus on this Sork line. And actually, in the end, that was so close.
They're just trying to keep us in the game as long as possible, I think.
He was 1 HP away. I mean, Soju kind of proving that, hey, Sorceress has a chance to get against GP.
Yeah, if you get to level 10 and you have like best in slot power-ups on Gwen 2 and you have the front line all upgraded and Braum 2, then you might get kind of close to beating Gangplank, actually.
Well, it did come down to like 10 HP difference, so it was kind of close.
No,
but,
I know,
and
he won the fight before, actually.
You compare a 2 cost 3 stars and a 3 cost 3 star to two 5 cost 2 stars.
I think board cost precedent still hasn't beat, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's maybe a little bit too difficult to try and break down, but yeah, this is going to be the final fight. And Team Vitality, the script is already written, it seems like, with game number 2 as they plunder out in game number 1. With game number 2, they bounce back with fire, and the adaptation in this game that we all wanted to see did come true in the end. Playing the Kai'Sa reroll, playing the crew reroll, playing compositions we didn't see in game number 1. It wasn't this 4-way contest of every single composition in the end, and actually it's Soju who wins out level 10 in the end with the Sorcerers. Yeah,
no, I love it. I mean, exactly what we were talking about in the game 1. We have these 4 compositions that are very strong. I think Prodigy is kind of the outlier. I don't think Prodigy like has to be contested necessarily, but this is what happens when you leave Sork uncontested, right? He's able to hit everything for free, goes 10, and his board is beating Gangplank boards, right?
Cuts,
you can't allow the Sork player to actually just be fully uncontested, especially if they're able to have a good tempo early game.
I mean, Vitality Strike Back, that is something that we were at least hoping to see, bringing this all the way to that 3rd game, which would be a great way to start off EWC here. But for Vitality as well, they've proven that they can make those adaptations on the fly, and that the history of, you know, getting here through the qualifications is probably going to repeat itself.
Yeah, I think it might do. I mean, we'll have to see with game number 3, but I think in the end, again, the adaptation was really huge. Them holding them KOs early on as well, with Setsuko and Soju being able to hold the KOs. Flounder's just going out in 8th place, just proving that with this KO it can be strong, but you need so much gold to hit these 3 stars, but also being able to level 9 to upgrade your KO for it to become more powerful, which wasn't able to do in the end.
I mean, he got put in jail this game. Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is, right? Like, there's really nothing else to it. It's not even, like, you can't even blame Flounders. Like, he's playing the spot he's supposed to get, and Vitality's just able to find all of the units that they need to just deny him. He can't hit the kill, and that is such a bad comp to not be able to hit early on. You have to be able to push 9.
Yeah, something we expected specifically from Vitality was that this was going to be a very dominant game from their side of things. If we were, you know, looking at how they'd be performing, I still think that AlQadsiah gave them a little bit of a pushback here and there, but it wasn't definitely not what we've seen on that first game.
No, I mean, it's a complete opposite of what we saw in game number 1. You know, in game number 1, it's Vitality 6-7-8. This game is AlQadsiah 6-7-8. So if we look at the moment, both these teams are pretty even, but the big thing was just playing these different compositions, playing the uncontested Sork line, which I think AlQadsiah needs to be very careful in this game number 3. If they have a team, if they have a player, sorry, not in their team, not playing Sorks, then it can be a pretty big downfall.
And it's possible that this Katarina read is just wrong. I mean, we heard people talking about how maybe this is not that strong. I don't even think Volta hit late. He hit at a reasonable time that he found the Katarina 3. Yeah. He finds Caitlyn 3 just for fun. Like, I don't know if he is maybe not even worth the gold that he spent on that, but if it is worth the gold, why did it not do anything by the time he actually hits it? It just might be a comp that's just not quite where it needs to be for this competition.
Yeah, and I think as well that's also what makes it nice that this is going to be a BO3 match rather than, you know, that one-time, one-and-done thing, because at the end of the day, you are here on that new patch. You now have that opportunity to test your comps. I mean, we're having this happen simultaneously next door. We have Weibo going up against T1 playing different comps as well. So the meta reads are being trialed and tested as this tournament goes on. But as much as that's a nice thing, it also is a little bit of a downfall because, again, you only have one shot to go up against this opponent. You have one shot to get the points to get to the top of your group. So for both of these teams, I mean, who knows? We might just go back to that comp that we saw earlier from GP.
Yeah, it might be. It might just be 4 mirrors right up the
no.
table
Not again. No,
between the two, all over again.
Don't want Syndra all over again, please.
No, I don't think it'll be that because I do think we saw a good range of compositions, and I think Vitality did not want to be back in that zone where they're just like, we're all mirrored, we're just going to go on variants of who hits and who misses. They wanted to be able to go, hey, these are much stronger and we're going to stick with those.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, look, Soju comes out on top, 22-10. Not bad, not bad. No. This is the opposite of what we've seen on that first game where we were looking at AlQadsiah towards the top and, you know, we had Vitality at the bottom, but it's all reversed this time around.
Bit of a flip this time. And like I said, Soju was kind of silently getting into level 10 and silently leveling up because we were focusing so much on these rerolls throughout the game. And Soju was like, okay, you're all playing rerolls. I'm just going to try and tempo with Sorks. I'm just going to go into level 10, hit these 5 costs later on as well. And you can see the power in the end as well. But I think overall, Vitality with a great adaptation to game number 1. I think overall, they're going to have the confidence now. You know, as you mentioned with, you know, 3-game series, it means that you can adapt throughout the series as well, and you have time to come back if you do have an unfortunate game number 1. Yeah,
and with that as well, match 2 is done and dusted. We still have one more coming your way for Vitality against AlQadsiah to determine which one will actually take the win here. We're going to be back with that final match after the break, so stick around.
Level up your gaming experience with over 8 billion playlists, only on Spotify, the official audio streaming partner for the 2025 Esports World Cup.
Welcome back to TFT at EWC, where Vitality has equaled the score against AlQadsiah, a team that we didn't even think was going to be able to get a map off of them. But here we are, 1-1 for both of these rosters, and this is where they have to lock in, Stuart. This is their chance to actually get the point to be at the top of the group.
I mean, both teams need to lock in for sure. It's not just Team Vitality, AlQadsiah as well. Both these teams need to lock in because they know that T1 and Weibo are sitting on the other side as well, and they're in a very close series as well. So this group is absolutely stacked. So if you lose this, you're one loss away, another series loss away from getting knocked out the entire tournament after just a few days.
And I think the tail of the tape this time was line selection, right? We have Vitality taking, Crew, going for that Kaisa with the max attack, kind of finding the exact spot where you can actually play that, and then getting uncontested Sorks, where on the other side, with the Kale that get put in jail, it has to go to level 9 and is unable to even hit the Kale until like stage 4. And then on top of that, the Katarina, which there's been some rumbles that the comp, while it has felt like it's been pretty good over the course of the set so far, for this 4v4 tournament, we have heard a lot of teams saying that it is not very strong. It is not the comp to go for. And it kind of showed it there in this game.
I was going to say, it feels like we got the confirmation, so I don't think we're going to be seeing Katarina again. But I also think that this was very different than what we've seen from that first game, because it's like the complete opposite of seeing two mirror comps. Like each team tried to go for their own meta read, and I think this is where you get that confirmation of like, okay, well, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. But either way, it's a learning lesson, and you can move forward, which is why these teams are here. Because again, like as you already touched upon, Stuart, is like AlQadsiah, like yes, maybe necessarily weren't supposed to be here, but they beat 100 Thieves to get to this point.
Exactly that. I mean, they've beaten some of the best teams. They've beaten some of the best players before. So this is not the first time that they've been in this position where they can try and take down another NA super team. But I think at the same time, you've got to realize that, Team Vitality, when they're playing different compositions to AlQadsiah, you're seeing the kind of level difference of these players. They find the right spots, they find the right win outs as well. And they were able to take game number 2 with not really contesting any comps, I think, in game number 2. I think everyone was on a different line in game number 2. We had the GP Reroll, the GP tempo line, we had the Sork in there as well. So I think when it comes down to everyone playing different compositions, I think Team Vitality have that edge.
I think part of that too is you can live and die by the Volta cook. I mean, Volta is known to play very creative boards. He ends up going for the Caitlyn 3 in this spot alongside the Katarina. A lot of players just wouldn't buy the Caitlyn's because they would just want to save the gold, but he decides he wants to go for it. Does not pay off, ends up in a 6. But we've seen Volta other times play some very creative lines, end up making it all the way to the end, and just getting some big wins.
And we're going to be getting into games straight away, because who wouldn't want this match to get started?
All right, jumping right in. And we've got some artifact anvils to kick things off, Stuart. We were not getting high variance in our first 2 matchups, but game 3, let's just go crazy. Give us a prismatic on 2-1 as well. I mean, screw it, let's go.
This might break the game. This is where the cooking happens.
Well, this is where the Volta cook. Yeah,
I was going to say, this is what you already mentioned with Volta cooking. This is where all the cooking can happen. I think this set alone has been one of the best when it comes to variance with artifacts. There are so many cool interactions that you can do with artifacts, with power-ups as well being a thing. There are some craziness that you can happen with this as well. And what you'll see as well is that most players might actually use the artifact anvil at 1-4. before the first augment selection, because then that artifact gives you such a big direction early on as to what comp you want to play towards.
Yeah, there's a couple big ones. The elephant in the room is Flicker Blades.
Yeah.
If you can get that, not only is GP unlocked, but also you can play the Ash Juggernauts, and it gets even better with that Flicker Blades. On top of that, Mana Zane is another one to look for when we're going in the Sorks angle. Those are kind of the two immediate directions, but also Silvermare Dawn does open up lines that don't exist without it. You can actually play around Darius reroll if you find Silvermare Dawn, and that's maybe even one of the bigger cooks that we can see as a Midas touch for Volta, so he's going to be able to find some gold. Life Ward Aegis is not going to be...
Shield, yeah.
Or Life Shield, yeah, it's not going to be the biggest high roll. Not a lot of cooking to be done with that one.
No, unfortunately not. No, trying to hit something maybe like the Flicker Blades can also enable KO as well with the extra attack speed that you can actually get. Space Camp, oh, okay, just get insta roll. I was going to say Space Camp is a good option if you want to try and go towards the crew. But with this Luchador 2 starts, it's going to be going for replication instead.
Yeah, they can also synergize with your power-ups. I had a really neat thing come up. Flicker Blades. That's probably going to be the click, but we do see AP items mostly for Milk, so
yeah,
have to see what he can do. I think it might still just be the click, because you can still kind of build Ginsus or something alongside it. You can still build a lot of items out of what he has. It's just not very easy slams that he has access to.
I think it's really difficult as well because he has a Lucian too, so you can build something like the Lich Bane with the Lucian as well. Actually goes for the Light Shield. Yeah, I think his items just don't really make you think that you want to go for Flicker Blades. I think that if he had some AD items, if he had a Ginsu, and maybe if he had a Natu as well. Natu is great with Flicker Blades as well, but I think with this AP line that Milk is looking towards, just picks the safe option. Light Shield is the safe option that you can go for your front line. And
well, this would explain it as well, right?
Oh boy.
Soju's got Flicker Blades, GP, Midas Touch, and items to slam straight away. We'll see how much gold he can find. But this is exactly what Vitality wants to see. This is the way for Soju to be in position as the ace for this team to play for a first.
And this is what we was talking about with Artifacts. Artifact Portal opens up so many possibilities. Espat on the other side also picking up the Blighting Jewel as well, which is also very, very good way if you want to play towards the Malzahar potentially later on down the line as well, as that damage over time from Malzahar can basically shred any of these frontline tanks a lot as well. Mana Zane as well for Setsuko. Mana Zane and Flicker Blades for Team Vitality. That's a huge start to this game.
So they got 1 AP, they got 1 GP going through, and then we'll have to see the other players on Vitality and how they decide to play around it. Dawncore does have some crazy implications that it can go for reducing that mana cost so significantly.
Yeah, Dawncore could be really good for Yuumi as well. Just keep on casting over and over again, especially if you get like Bullet Hell as well. Silvermere Dawn.
For
Prestiven, it could go into many different variations. I've seen a little bit online that you can maybe go for something like Jace 3 as well with Silvermere.
Yes.
So you know, Darius could also be a possibility.
The 2 3-cost rerolls that open up to the Silvermare are the Darius and the Jace. I'm curious if we'll see that 3-cost reroll is very tough in 4v4. It's a lot easier to deny by your opponents. Holding the units is a lot more effective because the 3-cost pools are a lot smaller. So I am curious what this Silvermare wants to be from Prestiven. This is going to be the more interesting cook.
Yep.
Soju is just powerful. Prestiven, I believe, who had the Mana Zane? Milk had the Mana Zane. So it's Milk and Soju are just straight up powerful, and we have to see the other side.
Cloak here for Rebenev with the Edge of Night as well could also be pretty...
Oh, it's Setsuko,
yeah.
So
but
Setsu
also has the Void Staff as well, so it's 2 really, really strong items going towards that AP line already. Rebenev again going for the Trench Cloak could be really good. It's a really good interaction with Edge of Night as well, because when the units split, the Edge of Night refreshes as well, so the Edge of Night keeps proccing over and over again. It can be a possibility with the GP as well, and maybe Rebenev is going to be the player to contest Soju on that GP, and I think this might be the game that we might see both the GP players maybe potentially going towards that that reroll line instead of playing towards tempo.
Yeah, GP could be all out Cassante. There is a way that you could go up to the going for the 4-cost, but I think you probably do need to contest Soju's GP. I don't know that you can just unless you just want to give first and try and play for the other high placements and just say, hey, Soju is going to go first here, and we're just going to try and get, second, third, fourth, something like that. Maybe you can try and look for that and just ignore Gangplank and just say, whatever, Soju can have it.
Let's see what the possibilities here on the carousel. There is a pan on the carousel, which if you can change that into a spat, you could also, as Precedent's actually going to deny that away from Espat in the end. But
how can we cook Silvermare in a pan? Where can you go with that? Oh, gosh. Maybe plus one.
Heavyweight for Darius, probably.
It's possible. You can, but this is also theoretically you can change this into a spat at some point, right?
So I was thinking maybe the players that can change it into splat that have flicker blades, like maybe Soju can maybe go for like Ash instead if he knows that GP is you know, contested. But at the moment he is pretty uncontested on this line. And honestly, just slammed items. You know, Sterak's not considered one of the best items for GP, but I think just slamming the item, trying to play for that win streak is going to be really important. But here we are again, you know, 2 players on the same team, on the same streak that could go up against each other, and one of them might be able to ruin the econ.
What about +1 Academy with the Jace reroll with the Silvermare? Maybe that's a way to get there.
That could be good, yeah.
I'm curious.
Extra Academy online.
Yeah, I'm just like, you have to use it if you're President, right? So I'm like, how is it going to get used? Yeah. And I know he had to pick it up for denial. I don't think it was something he necessarily wanted. So we'll see what President can cook up with that pan alongside the Silvermare Dawn. But right now it's just going to be Gangplank farming gold. One downside, I think he can farm more gold off of these little ones. So there's 2, 3 executes. How much more gold?
Every single time, which is kind of another cool interaction, but
3
it does many times.
4, 5 gold?
Oh my.
That is insane.
I think he just farmed 2 gold with that last one with
he
Midas
did.
Touch as
Midas
well.
Touch and Gangplank shot.
That's the possibilities of this new set, the possibilities of Gangplank, and why so many players and so many teams are contesting this composition and just picking up early GPs, because you know how powerful this can be, especially with flicker blades as well. You know, one of the new artifacts that came in recently as well, you know, we're replacing the, kind of giving you that old Rage Blade vibe that we used to have before in previous sets. So it's exciting to see, but at the same time, it must be terrifying for AlQadsiah.
Both win streakers are Vitality, Soju and Setsuko. They do have to go up against each other. Setsuko having these items and Rising Chaos on the Syndra is such an insane early game. Might even be stronger than the GP, and in fact, it looks like it is. Soju's still able to grab a little bit of gold here, but Setsuko actually having the strongest Stage 2 board, as Soju still needs to find that Gangplank 2 to really bring out that full potential.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he rolls down on 3-2 as well to try and like stabilize on that GP2. It could be very, very important as well to try and, you know, get that possibility and get the stabilize that he needs. But he already has the flicker blades online, so even GP1 might be enough to stabilize. But as you mentioned, the Rising Chaos with Syndra is so powerful, especially with Manazane.
Yeah, I mean, this is finally kind of a reverse of the first 2 games when it comes to Stage 2. Vitality on top with the life totals. AlQadsiah having 3 players at the bottom. Espat with the full loss streak, but found an early Malzahar to go alongside this Blighting Jewel, which is going to be very good for Espat to start to turn things around. If he can find some upgrades to the front line, if he can find Malzahar 2, that will stabilize for a very long time.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's one of the best interactions with Blighting Jewel. As I mentioned, the damage over time with Malzahar actually works with Blighting Jewel every single time. So when you use this on the front line, every single time the tick damage comes through from Malzahar, you're shredding through the enemy's magic resist. At the end of the fight, everyone on the enemy team is going to have, you know, enemy board is going to have 0 magic resist. So you can easily break through it with the likes of Yuumi later on as well. So decent spot for Espat as well, is on the lose streak as well. And we can see at the moment, AlQadsiah 6, 7, 8 at the moment in terms of lose streaking, in terms of staying up there. Setsuko on the other side. I think Setsuko and Soju, in terms of overall in this game, have 2 of the best spots, 2 of the best artifacts in the game.
By far.
They're both in an incredible spot right now, and it's just about understanding where they need to be in this position and how they can use this to actually win out in this first game.
Well, and Soju just keeps farming gold. I mean, just look at this. GP's once again going to be just running through this composition. There's +1. There's 2.
That might actually been 3 there.
There's 3.
That's 2 more gold. I think you just dropped 2 gold back to back.
That's 10 gold. I don't know. It's like
you lose count at some point, don't you?
Absolutely insane. Silvermare Dawn going to be just on an Afiri for now. It's a nice little early game carry for it.
and Prismatic.
We are going to get some prismatics. Hey, you know, I told you we had to crank up the variance for this last one. You know, let's get an artifact anvil. Let's get some prismatics. We got sponging for Soju.
It's going to help out a little bit with being able to, you know, potentially spread the items and everything as well. But
it's great with the mentors, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, I think with Soju as well is that surprisingly he is rolling down because he already hit that GP2.
Oh, what? No, he found Rise on 6. What?
Flicker Blades, Gangplank, and a Rise on 6 has the 4 Mentor online. The Exodia comp is here already in Stage 3, Cass.
Look, they may have been wanting to complain about variance from Game 1 with the early Gangplank 2 from Rebanov on Stage 2.
I don't hear any of that anymore.
But I don't think they can complain at all after this game from Soju. This is just a heater.
Absolutely insane in the end. As you can see, the items are spreading as well. Most of it is Starix spreading across the board as well, which is just going to make your front line even tankier and going to help out the extra board cap online and get the extra front line, because GP2, as you can see, is just auto-attacking away with Flicker Blades. And you can see that Flicker Blades has a really crazy interaction with Kraken as well, because Flicker Blades allows you to attack faster, which means you get more AD from Kraken Slayer. So these Gangplank bullets are just going to be one-shotting across the board. It's absolutely nuts.
And then you generate more gold, and then you hit more Gangplanks, and then you get more levels, and then you just find everything. It all snowballs together as Prestovant finds a Mundo 2, keeping the train going for Team Vitality as 1, 2, 3, 4 Vitality members at the top of the tables. AlQadsiah falling very low already, Espat down to half HP from the start, and Prestovant just going to hit a Jin 3 on 3-3 here with the prismatic ticket rolling all the way down. Only finds 4 copies of Mundo, so that's going to hurt a little bit. So the Silvermare Dawn ends up just going into a Jin board with the Pan doing I don't know what. Who knows what Prestovant's cooking here, but it is working.
I mean, this is what happens with artifacts. You just cook with a Silvermare Dawn Dr. Mundo 2, and you just randomly build a GP3 for fun. You know, I mean, not GP3, a Jin 3, sorry, for fun. I got GP stuck in my head already. But Jin 3 on this roll down with Prestovant as well, understanding that no one else in this game is going for Jin 3, and potentially maybe no one going for Mundo 3 as well. So realize this position, realize that with Raining Gold, he was able to stack up so much gold, and also with Midas Touch now on this Jin is going to stack up more gold. Is unfortunately going to lose this round, but I think over time, Prestovant will be very happy with that roll down.
Yeah, I mean, just being so far from Mundo, I think, is a bit of a problem, but the fact is the carry is upgraded and is Midas Touch for now, so he does need to find Artistic KO later on, and that'll make a huge difference for Prestovant and actually the power of his board, because you can kind of just play the Mundo 2 and try and push to 4 Luchador.
Rebanov rolling around like a little tiny Titans running around. I actually ran around to try and get the Yuumi in the end, but didn't unfortunately find the Yuumi. I think that was taken by Prestovant in the end, I believe that was. So Prestovant picking that up, and that meant that wasn't able to find the Yuumi instead. So pretty tough spot, I think, in this game for AlQadsiah. I mean, you look at Soju's spot, you look at Setsuko's spot at the moment, and if you're AlQadsiah, you think to yourself, well, what's the plan now? You know, how are we going to come back in this game? Because the early game is already looking pretty difficult to try and come back on, but they still have plenty of time to go. They're rolling very aggressively, Rebanov, on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can see that
he skips Mundo.
He skips Did he skip GP as well?
Yeah, skip Mundo 2. I think
sure what he's
he found the
for.
Braum, which is pretty nice to use these items.
He's not even upgrading the GP. I'm kind of interested to see where that goes and what position he is there, but unfortunately not finding the, not upgrading that GP in the end. I think his whole board was 1-star as well, yeah, so I'm not too sure of the direction that he's really looking for, especially rolling down on level 7. Extra bombs are quite nice, of course, as a front line with all the CC that it can offer, but overall, you don't really have any backline carries. You roll to 20 gold on 3-5 at level 7, and you still have Null 1 Severe 1 on your backline.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just this Braum as the main carry. And you know, you did call out that maybe it would be a heavyweight emblem. Different reason, but it is a heavyweight emblem for Prestovant this time around, trying to buff up that front line. Heavyweight Mundo being very, very powerful. As we get our second snack, finally, Setsuko still 100 HP. Soju still with only the loss to Setsuko.
I think Rebanov here is just going for what I was expecting him to go for, just denying away. I think he's just playing the denial this game. I called that a little bit earlier with the trench coat, with the Edge of Night, can use that on their GP if he wants to. And I think he's just rolling down aggressively at level 7 to maybe try and find the 4 mentor, try and get that GP, GP2 to stable. But unfortunately, rolled down to 20 gold and didn't find anything at all.
Yeah, now Milk actually going to go into the Sork line, and it felt like the only person that might contest this line was Setsuko, but Setsuko can potentially just go for something else. It looks like Prodigy contest maybe, considering that we do have no crit items built, but instead we've got kind of like the pen and the heal cut as well as the blue buff. A lot of stuff that you'd maybe like to see more within the realm of the Prodigies.
Yeah, in general with Prodigies, you don't really need that much mana because the trait allows you to generate so much mana over time anyway. So, except for the Manazane isn't the exception because you can just keep casting over and over again. But in general, I think maybe his Prismatic Augment didn't give him something better, so he had to take one buff, 2 buffs. So, in the end, has to go for that. But it's going to be contesting Espat as well, which Espat sitting very, very low on HP and might be falling out very quickly. He's not even level 8 as well. You would have thought with this much of a loss streak that he'll be able to have so much gold to roll down, but doesn't actually have that much.
Yeah, I mean, just not able to get even Malzahar 2 on level 7 right now. Yuumi 1, Malz 1, frontline's not upgraded. Espat's just not finding anything to go in his direction for this game. And I think we're going to see a big roll down on level 8 here for Espat to try and get the full Prodigy board together. And if he does not hit hard, that's going to be curtains for Espat in this 3rd and final game.
Volta, on the other hand, with that invested ++, does have a lot of gold as well to roll down. I think he's going to roll down for the Sork line, it seems like, because on the other side, he trying to roll down as well. Both AlQadsiah members at the moment rolling down, trying to stabilize their boards because they realize that they are in a really tough spot right now. But as you mentioned, no Yuumis to be found. He does have one on the board, but that Yuumi 2 is such a big upgrade. Yeah,
got the Malz 2, but doesn't really find much of anything else. Doesn't even find the front line, right? Finally, there's a duplicator. Gets the Yuumi 2 after finding a single copy, but there's no Leona. You're missing. You're not even on 5 Battle Academia because you don't find the Leona. That is very, very tough.
Does actually have the Yuumi 2 in the end, so was able to
had
hit
the
that, which is quite nice. Yeah, had the
so found one more copy, duplicated it.
But as you mentioned, not having that Battle Academia online, the 5 Academia means that not going to do as much true damage on this Yuumi board, but is going to still try anyway to try and help out a little bit with HP, and maybe it's enough to stabilize at the moment. A good round for Espat winning out that one. Meanwhile, you can see that Preservant still only has 6 Dr. Mundos, so it's still pretty far away from that Dr. Mundo 3-star, but with that heavyweight and with Silvermere Dawn, that front line is still going to help him out.
Yeah, Setsi finally starting to lose a couple of rounds, but Soju has not lost since falling to Prestavant, or since falling to Setsuko, and he's still probably got the GP2 online, just continuing to run away with this game. GP3, actually, sorry, not Gangplank 2 online. Stage 4, we've got the GP3.
Crazy.
Level 7, 50 gold, 4-2 GP3, showing why GP stands for Get Paid, not Gangplank.
And unfortunately, it's not contested as well. So we're just playing that. Rebanov did try and deny. We saw the roll down at level 7 to try and roll down and deny the Gangplank. But Soju, don't want to talk too early on, but I think just might run over this game. I mean, Flicker Blades with Gangplank 3, it's just completely, just feels like it's just, you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Prestavant has Mundo 3 and the Jin 3 as well. Still on Midas Touch for the Jin, so he's still got a little ways to go on actually setting up the power-ups. But, I mean, this is just incredible spots for Vitality. And yes, getting run over by this this Gangplank with the Flicker Blades, but that's fine. That's your teammate. We'll lose to Soju. That's fine.
I mean, Soju actually swapped out the Midas Touch as well. Hit the stretchy arms.
Yeah.
You saw that stretchy arms just go from one side of the board to the other and one-shot the 3-star gem. That is the power of this Gangplank and how powerful this unit can be. And I think it's just insane now. And also unstoppable on Kumbuko as well, which is also one of the best ones. Yeah. Best item slots. You don't have any tank items on Kumbuko.
Doesn't matter, sponging. It's sponging all these items across the board.
That's true. So you don't even need that many items on the Kumbuko because it's sponging around. And this looks like the golden road, really, and the script, I guess, wrote itself after all.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we see, dropped the first game, dominant performance in the second game, dominant performance in the third game. This one off the back of a very early GP, and really the hope for AlQadsiah is that somehow, after Soju's reign of terror at first place, they can find a couple of extra placements. But Soju's going to be able to sack a lot of HP for his team as well. He has a couple removers still remaining that he'll be able to work with.
I mean, Preciven winning against Volta here as well. Rebanav also losing on the other side. Flouders also losing. That's 3 AlQadsiah members losing now as we get into the next carousel to see what 5 costs we have. We have Elise and Zyra, which is not going to mean too much to these players. But overall, it's just going to be some extra item components to help out get these units online.
Yeah, and from there, I mean, just taking stock of the HP here, right? Yep. I mean, you're looking at the top of the table, Soju at 94, Setsuku at 81, Preciven 66, right? And at the bottom, Milk is the lowest vitality member at 31, which is tied for the second healthiest AlQadsiah member at Rebanov at 31. And at the bottom there, Volta's on 2 lives, Espat on effectively 2 lives here, maybe 3 that you can get away with, but it is really, really tough for the AlQadsiah members here because nobody can beat Soju. Nobody is close to having a board that remotely contends with this Gangplank 3, with the stretchy arms, with the flicker blades.
And I think that's the problem now for AlQadsiah is that even if they go 7-8, they're never going to get first and second because we know that Soju is going to win out this game. So it's really about trying to stop some of these other boards. As we see, Preciven just hit Vi 3 as well, so that's even more beefy front line for that board as well. And it just becomes very, very difficult as we see, you know, one side with Milk already having the Karma 2-star. Volta on 0 gold only has Karma 1. So it seems like this game is just there for the taking for Vitality, and it's really hard. Rebanav, we're on stage 4, still has the power-up on Gnar.
Yeah, but he's got Braum 2. It's kind of sick.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why he has a Braum 2. I don't know where that came from. But he has Braum too.
I mean, he has Luchadors, 4 Luchadors online, which is pretty solid, I guess. But I don't think Gnar is going to be able to be a main carry in stage 4, though.
No, it doesn't get it done.
You can maybe do something if it rolls and if it gets into a 3-star early on. But just a 2-star Gnar is not going to do enough damage against the likes of Karma 2s, you know, GP3s that we're seeing, Jin 3s across the board. Like, the backline damage is not there. Volta finds finally that Karma 2-star, but it might just be too little too late on 5 HP.
Well, I mean, I think it is. I mean, 5 HP, you just run into Soju once and it's game over. I still don't think this comp is beating Soju. And I think that's the story of it, right? You've just got this Grim Reaper at the top of the table, 94 HP, only lost a single round the entire game, and you have 2 members that are on a single life. So the second they run into Soju, lights out.
Exactly that. We're seeing Flouders on the other side. Actually don't find the Dawn Core on Akali, so trying to jump into the backline, but they really need Volta to win this round to stay alive. It does look like Volta is going to be able to win this round, and you're seeing kind of the struggle a little bit that this Karma has at the moment, is that when you don't build a mana item on this Karma, it takes her a little bit of time to actually use her ability and come online. And of course, with Karma, her ability is her main core, you know, being able to spread the damage, especially with Sorcerers online as well. But in the end, is going to win that round against Flounders, but now Espat is the one sitting at 1 HP as well.
We might be seeing a 1-2-3-4 domination here to close out the series as Espat down to just 1 life at the bottom of the table. Flounders took another loss. There's also just a bunch of Leonas being held away from Espat. 4 of them. Soju at this point can just grief.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually even need to level. He might be able to soon enough because he has so much gold. He's still kind of rolling for the Kabuko 3, but he's just so strong. He can just grief the AlQadsiah members and make sure that they cannot hit anything. He's got an Akali on the bench, a Jarvan, 4 copies of Leona. Not letting anyone get there.
As you said, can just play Denial at the moment. I think that's the big thing. Volta does find a couple of tiers, does build that Spirit Shogun, does have best items now on this Karma, but again, it still might be too little too late, as both AlQadsiah members could go up against each other. And the problem with Espat is he still hasn't found that Leona 2, and that's all because of Soju. As you mentioned, doesn't need to level, can just roll down on level 7, level 8, and deny the other units on the other board.
All right, let's see the fight. Espat versus Flouders. Flouders just on 2 lives himself, but Espat on the single 1. Setsuko still just playing around this Syndra. Has not needed to change, still been winning fights, and might still even take out the Karma with just the Syndra, though there is a lot of power coming out of that Jarvan. But Syndra is on the Karma first, does not get it done. Volta survives, Espat goes down in 8th. Milk takes a loss, so maybe they won't get 1, 2, 3 forward, but it's still not looking bright as Rebanov takes another loss.
Yeah, it still looks like domination here for Team Vitality in game number 3. And we were thinking after game number 1, you know, is the jitters, is the nerves going to come in for Team Vitality? But I think with that kind of split comp with the mirror comps that happened in game number 1, we see that in game number 2 and game number 3, when we have more variety of compositions, that Team Vitality can play out, you know, very well and to incredibly high standard. But Espat just not being able to find any Leonas. Setsuko, as you mentioned, was staying on that Syndra 2 with Rising Chaos, but also denying Leonas as well. So you have 2 members of Vitality denying Leona, understanding the win-out composition and win-out possibility with that Yuumi board.
Yeah, Volta going to now run into Prestivant, who has all of these upgrades. 3 3-star 2 costs, Mundo Vi and Jin. I'm curious if he's even found Artistic for the Jin as well. We'll see it here on that shot. It looks like it does come through. Yeah. So that is the max bis, the max cap kind of for this Jin composition. Silvermare Don Mundo, why not? Doing a lot of damage with those swings, and Volta is going to take the 7th 8 for AlQadsiah. Rebanov down to 4 life, Flouters at 24. It just does not look like it is possible with the life totals remaining for them to bring this back.
And Soju still sitting at 94 HP ever since that round. The only round that he really lost was against Setsuko.
It was, yeah, it was that one loss.
That's the only round. And then since then, he's been able to find GP completely uncontested as well.
Kabuko 3, baby. We've got them all.
Why not? Why not? I mean, Rebanav's still sitting on that Natu, unfortunately. Tried to play this Luchador board with getting that early Brom too, but unfortunately, with this board, it's not going to be able to cap as much because that Natu is not going to be able to do enough damage. It's going to be going up against Milk, so it's still a pretty important fight here for AlQadsiah. If Rebanav can beat Milk, it can be pretty huge here, but this Sorcerer Akali on the back line, though, crazy damage.
So this does 2 things. Sorcerer Akali already just kind of strong, right? It's actually just a decent unit at 2-star. But also, it denied the Akalis from Flouters throughout this game as well, who was trying to play that Dawn Court Akali. That's going to take out Rebanov. That is going to close up the series. Vitality will win 2-1 against AlQadsiah.
Very shaky first game by Team Vitality. I think needed a little bit of time to come back into this. You know, maybe need a little bit of time to settle. But game number 2 and game number 3, excellent performances by Team Vitality, especially game number 2 as well. I think for me is a highlight with the adaptation that came on through as well. And you can see smiles on the faces now for Team Vitality. That wasn't the case after game number 1, but you can see that they're having fun now. There's smiles on their faces, and that's the confidence boost that they really needed.
It's hard not to be happy when you get that spot for Soju, and you as a team know just immediately you're like, all right, we've got first. We can just kind of try and figure out what we want to do with the rest of these comps. Don't go 6, 7, 8, right? And a lot of their other spots were also just like strong as well. I really like how Prestivant piloted the Silvermare Dawn spot, because I think that was the one that was the most like in flux. What is this board even going to be?
Yeah.
And I think the Nefiri was a really smart, just like start, use the Silvermare Dawn with the tank item on the Nefiri, gets a lot of damage out every time she gets the cast. And then from there, I mean, you have a lot of options, but it was just a big roll down to an uncontested 2-cost reroll line that is strong. Mundo Jin. And just finding it, even though the Silvermare Dawn doesn't really fit in, knowing you've got this other composition that you can find your way into just opens up a lot of worlds, especially with the Prismatic ticket, knowing you will beat everyone else to the punch.
And I think that's the understanding that I think is so incredible by Prestivant, is understanding that these 2-cost rerolls were not really contested outside of the GP. Since GP3 was already out the port, it makes it easier to hit the Mundo, it makes it easier to hit the Jin. Not a lot of people will go for raining gold into Prismatic Ticket and roll down to 10 gold at 3-2, but it's a great spot that he was able to find himself in. As you mentioned with the Silvermare Dawn, picks up the picks up the Dr. Mundo that was there. The Dr. Mundo
was there momentarily. I promise there was a Mundo 3 on the board.
I mean, look at that. It's 1, 2, 3 now for Team Vitality, and it's a golden road now for Team Vitality winning out this series.
Yeah, I mean, it is just repeating the script from the qualifiers, right? Lose game 1, dominate 2 and 3. Vitality's done it once again. And they've sold the boards, of course, to try and close this up because they know how it goes.
I think in the end as well, I think like Vitality realized that I don't think we're going to beat Soju. So
no,
like,
they won't. They won't beat Soju.
I don't think there's any point of trying to beat Soju at this point. I mean, look at this board. I mean, this is what we expected coming into, you know, EWC. You know, we've been talking with all the other talent as well, how strong GP is going to be, how often we're going to see it as well. in every single one of these games in this first series, we've seen it at least once or twice by some of these members, and just shows the power. And then Artifact Anvil just end the series off.
I think the through line of We Know Nothing is once again looking here with the gangplanks are finding the 3 stars, because it is just not a comp where we had Syndra last year where it was just like you would play it at multiple 1 star or 2 star and everyone would play it for tempo. I don't know that you can just play multiple 2-star GPs just for tempo because of the itemization being specific. We know that there is an out to Ashe Juggernaut, so maybe we could see a 3-way contest, but it seems that teams have been content to do 1-player GP against the other player's GP, and at that point, 3-star does become very real, especially because a lot of players aren't just having the gold to hold a bunch of gangplanks on their bench. It's just not happening.
I mean, we're also maybe expecting like multiple GPs on the same team as well, which I don't think we found ourselves in that spot because we haven't seen multiple GPs being found in like the early neutral rounds, the early stages of the game. We haven't had that possibility in this series yet. Maybe it's something we might see later on down the line in the other series as well. But I think this series as a whole gives us a great understanding of the meta, a great understanding of what the teams are trying to look for, of course, with the GP, but also other compositions as well, with the Kaiser 3, with Dr. Mundo, seeing that variation as well, and just seeing different variations on the team as well. But look at that. Soju's in his natural habitat, slouching down there. He's happy. He's slouching. He's happy that they've been able to win this as well, as it closes out. Team Vitality win the first series of the Esports World Cup for Teamfight Tactics.
Yeah, well, GP, also known as